Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm Judge Executive David Vogel. It's a little bit after 2 o'clock here on the 6th day of June. I have to look at my I wasn't sure if it was 7th when I looked at that. It is 6th. So we're happy to have all of you here today, and I'd like to ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. At the beginning of each meeting, I ask people who have a cell phone to please turn it to off or vibrate. It can interfere with our PA system here. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Leslie.
Here.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds. Here. Magistrate Eldridge.
Here.
Magistrate Dye.
Here.
Magistrate Logsdon.
Here.
Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all 9 members of the fiscal court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to add one thing if I can. The Economic Development Committee has been talking about a Commerce Parkway study, and I'd like to have that in a discussion if we could, just for a little bit, just for informative purposes, and I thought maybe we could put it down on committee reports,
All right.
road committee.
Parkway, all right. Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right, now we'll ask Sheila Fair to please read the minutes from our last meeting.
May 16th, 2017. The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, County Attorney John Carter, and the following magistrates in attendance: Wayne Tice, Bob Leslie, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Kevin Eldridge, Bob Dye, and Michael Logsdon. Magistrate Likens was absent. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to approve the agenda, adding Engineer's Office under Personnel Actions and adding discussion of Road Department backhoe and Red Wing Environmental Agreement under Other Business. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to schedule a special fiscal court meeting Thursday, June 29th at 10 a.m. and to cancel the regular scheduled meeting on July 4th. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to approve the meeting minutes of May 2nd. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment. Robert Augustine, field representative for Senator Rand Paul, introduced himself and provided his contact information for anyone having difficulties with federal agencies or services. Office is 502-582-5341. Visit the website at paul.senate.gov for more information. County Clerk Julie Barr presented information to the court regarding RiverLink transponder kits now being available for purchase in the Oldham County Clerk's office for $20 cash. Bid opening for the annual audit services. The following sealed bid for annual audit services for fiscal court was open and read aloud for the record. Roy Hunter, Certified Public Accountants, $12,925. Payables. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the payables. Motion carried 7-1. Magistrate Greenwell voted no. Community business. Second reading, public hearing for the budget amendment for fiscal year 16-17. County Treasurer Melissa Horn presented for second reading public hearing proposed ordinance number KOC 17-200-376, amending the existing Oldham County budget for fiscal year 16-17 to include unbudgeted receipts from insurance premium tax, insurance reimbursement, federal inmates, and jail contracts with other counties, increasing the receipts of general fund by $583,741.98 and increasing expenditure accounts by $583,741.98, and the floor was open for public comment. There being no public comment, the public hearing was closed. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Leslie to adopt ordinance KOC 17-200-376, amending the Oldham County Fiscal Court budget for fiscal year 2016-17 as submitted, and motion carried unanimously. Public hearing for the CRA and LGEA funds. As required by the Department for Local Government, the floor was open for public comment for the purpose of obtaining citizen comments regarding the possible uses of the county road aid, and local government economic assistance funds. Nathan Merrill, 4705 Sadler's Mill Road, was sworn in and requested funds be used to fix drainage issues on Sadler's Mill Road. There being no further public comment, the public hearing was closed. First reading, budget, fiscal year 17-18. Chief Financial Officer Stan Clark presented for first reading proposed ordinance number KOC 17-22381 relating to the annual budget and appropriations for the fiscal year 2017-18 as presented. The second reading public hearing will be June 6th. First reading, proposed ordinance for the address identification. Magistrate Leslie presented for first reading proposed ordinance number KOC 17-30-378, repealing and replacing ordinance KOC 87-300-320.3 relating to address identification markers for properties in Oldham County. The second reading public hearing will be June 6th. Second reading public hearing for the zoning map amendment, 4800 Block Sadler's Mill Road, Buckner. Community Planner Brooke Veman presented for second reading public hearing proposed ordinance KOC 17-92372 relating to a change in the Oldham County zoning map rezoning a 2.18 acre tract located at the 4800 block of Sadler's Mill Road in Buckner from the existing R2A residential zoning classification to R4 residential zoning classification. Judge Vogel asked those wishing to speak in support of the application to stand and be sworn in. Attorney Barry Baxter and applicant Mary Vandenbark of 1060 Bluegrass Parkway in LaGrange presented testimony in support of the application for zoning change. Project engineer Bill Berry presented testimony in support of the application. Dan Tran, LaGrange, spoke in favor of the application. Judge Vogel asked those wishing to speak in opposition of the application to stand and be sworn in. Nathan Merrill, 4705 Sadler's Mill Road, presented testimony in opposition of the application for zoning change. Catherine Miller, 1609 Kamer Drive, spoke in opposition of the application. Danny Cox, 4701 Sadler's Mill Road, spoke in opposition of the application. Fiscal court members asked questions of the applicant and those opposing the application, to which they responded. Gregory Esposito, 9512 Prescott Court, Prospect, was sworn in and presented testimony in support of the application. Fiscal court members continued with questions directed at applicant, opposition, and staff. Final remarks were presented by the opposition and the applicant, and the public hearing was closed. Discussion followed. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon to adopt proposed ordinance KOC 17-92372 relating to a change in the Oldham County zoning map rezoning a 2.18 acre tract located at the 4800 block of Sadler's Mill Road from the existing R2A residential zoning to R4 residential zoning, as submitted based on recommendation by Planning and Zoning Commission and findings uncovered in the Planning and Zoning hearing. Motion failed for lack of a second. Discussion followed. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to adopt proposed ordinance KOC 17-92372 relating to a change in the Oldham County zoning map rezoning the 2.18 acre tract located at 4800 block of Sadler's Mill Road from the existing R2A residential to R4 residential, as submitted based on reasons stated by Commissioner Arvin and the Planning and Zoning Commission approval of the application. Discussion followed. Motion failed 3-5 on a roll call vote. Magistrate Hounds, Eldridge, and Logsdon voted yes. Judge Vogel and the following magistrates voted no: Tice, Leslie, Greenwell, and Dye. Judge Vogel called for a 5-minute recess. After the 5-minute recess, Judge Vogel called the meeting back to order. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Leslie to deny adoption of proposed ordinance KOC 17-92372, thus denying the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission relating to a change in the Oldham County zoning map rezoning a 2.18 tract located at 4800 block of Sadler's Mill Road from the existing R2A residential zoning to R4 residential zoning for the reason the applicant has failed to demonstrate a compelling need for the rezoning or that the existing rezoning classification is no longer appropriate based on the record of the Planning Commission and the evidence heard at the hearing before Oldham County Fiscal Court. Discussion followed. Motion carried 5-3 on a roll call vote. Judge Vogel and the following magistrates voted yes: Tice, Leslie, Greenwell, and Dye. Magistrate Hounds, Eldridge, and Logsdon voted no. Second reading public hearing for a zoning map amendment at 10500 West Highway 42 in Goshen, Hermitage Farms. Senior Planner Amy Alvey presented for second reading public hearing proposed ordinance number KOC 17-92374 relating to a change in the Oldham County zoning map rezoning a 7.96 acre tract located at 10500 West Highway 42 Goshen from the existing AG1 agricultural and CO1 conservation zoning classifications to C1 commercial local business district zoning classification. Attorney Joshua Clubb and project architect Haviland Argo were sworn in and provided testimony on behalf of the applicants, Steve Wilson and Laura Lee Brown. The floor was open for public comment. There being no one present wishing to speak for or against the proposed ordinance, the public hearing was closed. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Helms to adopt ordinance KOC 1792374 relating to a change in the Oldham County zoning map rezoning 7.96 acre tract located at 10500 West Highway 42 Goshen from the existing AG1 and CO1 to C1 commercial local business district zoning as submitted because it complies with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan as outlined in March 28, 2017 Planning Commission meeting minutes provided herein. Motion carried 8-0 on a roll call vote. Waste hire grant for 2017-18. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Helms to authorize the judge executive to sign the waste hire grant agreement for fiscal year 17-18. Motion carried unanimously. Personnel, Parks and Recreation. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve the following personnel actions for Parks and Recreation. Hire Ashley Childers as building monitor at $7.40 an hour effective May 17th. Change Sarah Terry from lifeguard to supervisor on duty at $9.95 an hour effective May 17th. And hire Brianna Vance as lifeguard at $8.84 an hour effective May 17th. Motion carried unanimously. Engineer's Office. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Tice to hire Alan Bond as engineering technician at $17.85 an hour effective June 16th. Motion carried unanimously. Other business. Road Department backhoe surplus. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell and seconded by Magistrate Tice to declare surplus the Road Department backhoe with the intent to insurance salvage as presented. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Helms to approve a line item transfer for the purchase of a replacement backhoe. Motion carried unanimously. Red Wing Environmental Service Agreement. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to authorize the judge executive to sign the service agreement with Red Wing Ecological Services for Oldham Reserve right-of-way permitting. Motion carried unanimously. Second public comment, none. Announcements. Magistrate Tice asked that fiscal court members review the county's proposed budget and to bring forth any questions or concerns by next week. Magistrate Leslie expressed his condolences to the family of Butch Strong. Magistrate Greenwell stated the 17th Annual Peace Officers Memorial Service was well attended and thanked Oldham County chaplains for organizing the remembrance service. Magistrate Dye announced KYTC is beginning the road project in Crestwood by Dairy Queen and to expect traffic delays beginning May 30th. There will be possible intermittent road closings and work zones until projected completion in November. Judge Vogel announced LaGrange Farmers Market and Artisans open for the summer season and wished them well. He stated Mr. Asa Swan, Chief of Staff for Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, spoke at the Oldham County Chamber's breakfast regarding the state transportation budget and challenges the cabinet faces. Judge Vogel announced an unexpected award of $2.5 million for work at Highway 53 LaGrange intersection to address traffic flow and help alleviate traffic backups on the interstate. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting was adjourned at 5:55 p.m.
You've heard the reading of our minutes from May 16th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there any discussion? Magistrate Eldridge.
Judge, I had 2 points. On page 55, the gentleman who spoke in favor of the application, his name was Trent.
All right. What paragraph is that?
That's on the fifth indent down.
Yeah.
And then on page 56, and I'm not sure how you spelled that, but the gentleman that Mr. Leslie was expressing condolences for was Bush Strawn.
The USH.
Correct.
All right, and Magistrate Tice?
There's only, I saw one minor thing. It's in the motion, it's on the back of page 1 that we have here, down at the bottom. It's on the motion to not accept the planning and zoning recommendation. Down on line 5 at the end, what's written is, it says, or that the existing rezoning, and the should be left out, and it should be existing zoning. That's very minor, but see where I am?
I don't think Sheila's sure where you are on that. Right, I'm going to mention one other thing as well that is accurately reflected in the minutes, but is not actually the fact. And that is that at the last meeting, I mentioned that we had received a $2.5 million award from the state to work on the Highway 53 intersection. It says here that this is going to address the traffic flow to help alleviate backup on the interstate. I meant that in terms of the northbound interstate, southbound ramp. As it turned out, that's what I thought it was, and that's actually what the Transportation Cabinet thought our award was, but what the paperwork that had been put in earlier by our planning department was for work on the southbound interstate northbound exit, just the opposite corner, if you want to put it that way. So we had a misunderstanding there between, our planning people put this in several years ago. We've been trying to get this grant, and subsequently we've had backup on the interstate, on the southbound interstate, and that's what I've talked to the state a lot about, and so they were concerned about that, and then they confused this application with that problem. So I've been advised that we're going to go ahead with the work on the McDonald's side of the interstate, and that we will put in another grant for money for southbound work off the southbound interstate, heading toward Kroger in that direction, and that I believe we're going to have a very good chance of receiving that award based on the fact that KYTC had it confused on what they were giving us the money for. So they're going to give us what we wanted, asked for originally, and make good on their mistake in the future, is what I've been, let's say, led to believe. So anyway, so the minutes are, the minutes are stated correctly, but the information that I gave actually was incorrect. So I hope it's corrected now. If anybody not confused by that, raise their hand here today. All right, sir, we've had a motion to move and accept these minutes with these corrections. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
I must abstain, Judge. Thank you.
Right. Magistrate Likens abstains because he wasn't at the last meeting. Unless he watched on TV, he didn't know what happened. And we encourage everyone to watch our program on television. You'll learn a lot. Going to move on now with the first item on our agenda, and that is the public comment. Has anyone come today who would like to address the fiscal court? All right, you have up to 4 minutes, and we have staff member Becky Zuckman.
Thank you, Judge. Wanted to announce, let me find my, there I am, picture. The Ohio River Sweep, will take place June 17th. That's not this Saturday, but the Saturday after next. And this is an annual event that covers the entire length of the Ohio River. So it's volunteers coming together, getting trash bags, and just cleaning up sections of the river. It involves 8 states: Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and West Virginia. And it covers 1,962 miles of shoreline. I'd like to recognize Mr. Dave Burnett of Westport. He has been the coordinator of this event for a number of years, and the river sweep for Oldham County would not be possible without his efforts. Volunteers include some Westport residents, but they're always open to more volunteers, so I'd like to put out a call for volunteers to show up on June 17th. You get a free T-shirt and all the trash bags you can fill. But it's, as I understand it, it's a fun day, and hopefully the weather's good. For those of you who may not know, the Westport Boat Ramp is the only public access that residents of our county have to the river for boating. So this is a great opportunity to clean up that area for our boating public. I also want to extend my appreciation to Republic Services. They have graciously agreed to provide a dumpster for all the trash that's collected. And here's more information.
Doesn't it have to be the other way around, or?
Oh, flip it over, yeah. Okay, thanks. There you go. So there's some pictures of people collecting trash. And that poster that you saw on the screen was a poster contest. It was the winner of a poster contest that they have in all those states, you know, from communities throughout all those states. So that's a lengthy process, and I'm not sure if our schools participate or not.
Ms. Zoklin, a quick sweep of that, I'm not seeing the time. Can you tell us what time?
That is a good question. I would call the number 800-359-3977 to get the exact time. They also visit their website. I'm going to assume it's in the morning, but that's an assumption.
Anyone else? I don't want to put you on the spot, but you mentioned, and you're correct, that Westport is the only public access in the county here.
Yes.
So our cleanup is limited to Westport, to Schaumbach Park, or is it limited to, there's a lot of private property out there.
Right.
People probably shouldn't be going on someone else's property.
Generally, this cleanup is along the shoreline by our park and the boat ramp. I know the only other Oldham County cleanup is down near, or in the Prospect area, right on the Jefferson County line.
If you want to volunteer, you probably can go down to Cox's Park, or a lot of places in Jefferson County would have more.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak to fiscal court? Ask you state your name and address.
You bet. Hi, my name is Sally Clark, and I'm at 5201 Arrowshire Drive in LaGrange. Good afternoon, and thanks for this chance to talk to you all. A few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of talking with Wayne Tice about a new free mobile app that I'm working with called Drive to Win. That's Drive and the number 2, Win. The creator of the app, John McCafferty, had one thing in mind: to help stop or at least curb texting and driving and the epidemic that is taking the lives of so many. He suggested I spread the word to you all by talking with you. The statistics are alarming. 3,000 teens died last year in texting and driving accidents. The tragedies not only affect the victims and survivors of the accidents, but the families and friends and beyond, rippling out into the community. It's life-changing for all, a tragedy that is so needless and easily preventable. We are making a difference with those numbers with the Drive to Win app. Since our launch in late February of this year, we have over 1,600 downloads of the app. That's a significant number of people using the app in a very short time. I believe that people are aware of the dangerous how dangerous texting and driving is. They simply don't have the inclination, the motivation, or possibly the desire to change the habit. You see, we're all creatures of habit. From twirling our hair to fiddling with our phones, they're all habits. And in order to change a habit, you need to focus on that behavior and modify your thinking. Drive to Win provides a physical reward, positive reinforcement, and a competitive challenge to encourage and reward your behavior change. There have been many apps before us trying to do this, but none have offered rewards for safe driving. We believe this is the key to our success. So how does it work? Before you begin your drive, you open the app and you press start. Through location services on your phone, the app uses an algorithm to track your time and distance, allowing you to accumulate points. Don't touch your phone and don't go over 80 miles an hour. Once you reach your destination, you press stop and the app will calculate your points. Different prizes require different amounts of points. Once these points are earned for your desired prize, you cash them in directly inside the app. So about the prizes, they are provided predominantly by local businesses, driving players to their establishments. If you know of any businesses that would like to be a part of this, let me know. Drive to Win also has a leaderboard to encourage healthy competition and Trivia Tuesdays. Trivia Tuesdays is the educational component, which rewards you with extra points if you answer the question of the week correctly. The questions are related to texting and driving, safe driving habits, statistics, and such. For example, here's a question. It takes 4 to 6 seconds to read a text. At 55 miles per hour, how far have you traveled without looking at the road? Any guesses? A football field, 100 yards. Yep, very close. It's a long way without looking at the road. It's our vision to have as many citizens as possible download and use this app. I was just at project graduation Saturday night, handing out cards to the students. We're really looking to get the word out. If you are a school, public or private, youth group, community group, anywhere there's a group of young adults gathering, well, all of us could use this app. It's not just limited to young adults, but we want to come share with you so they can sign up and be safe. You can call me at 502-581-9227 and we'll set it up. Together, we can put a dent in the appalling statistics and save lives. Feel free to visit our Facebook page or drive2win.com for more information. Again, my number is 502-581-9227. Thank you. Any questions?
Measure Logsdon?
It's surprising that you're here today, because during open comment, I was going to say something at the end. He who lives in glass house should not cast the first stone, so I'm not saying I'm not guilty of it, but I was heading towards Ballardsville around 11:30 today, and somebody almost didn't make it home for supper tonight. There was a car that was in front of me, and right before you get to the gas station, this car totally went into the other lane. It was around a curve, right there where the old Cleaning Foods house is. And it just, I was going to mention it just because it's just so dangerous anymore. So
It is.
thank you for getting up and talking about this today, because it is just getting unreal. I mean, if you just watch people going down the street anymore, everybody's on their phone when you pass them. So thank you for doing
Of course,
this. So.
of course, it's my pleasure. We hope to put a dent in it because it is so needless. I have some handouts if you'd like. Can I give these
Yes.
out to you guys? I don't think I have quite enough for everyone. So it's just, we were in business first, and it's my card, and, so if there's anyone, and I'll get you in the mailbox. How about that?
That's a deal. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Sally. Sounds like a great idea, and I hope it's very successful and will help.
Thank you. I've seen the
protect
billboards that have
people.
been up periodically, and it's wonderful. And if there's any way, if we can join together, if there's, any way we can work together, please contact me. I'd love it.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to fiscal court here?
Good afternoon, Judge and members of Fiscal Court. My name is Ray Ann Rowley, and I am representing the Oldham County Fair Board at 2301 West Highway 146 here in LaGrange. And my purpose for coming today is to let you all know about a yard sale swap meet that we are having on the grounds on Saturday, June 17th. It's going to be a busy day with the river sweep and everything else going on. We are doing this as a thank you to the citizens of Oldham County. This is going to be a free yard sale. We generally charge $10 for a booth setup, but any citizen of Oldham County may come and set up a booth free of charge. We are not charging admission, we are not charging parking, the whole thing is free. There are a few things that I would like to ask of you, Fiscal Court. Number one, to mention it to as many people as you can and have them bring their things up to the fairgrounds parking lot. The more people we have out there, the more people are going to stop by and take a look. The other thing that we desperately need is strong bodies to put up our tent. So if anyone is available Friday afternoon about 6 o'clock, we're going to put up our, that would be the night before the event, we're going to put up our big tent. Like I said, we are doing this as a thank you to the citizens of Oldham County for supporting our fairgrounds this last year. We had record attendance on the fair this year, and I think you will be pleasantly surprised to know that we have had over 24,000 people pass through our gates this year. These are people that are visiting our county. A lot of them are from our county, but the ones that are from out of town stop and get gas. They stop into our restaurants. They shop in LaGrange because it's a nice, quaint place to come and visit. Even the people that are working our fair, the carnival people, they don't have much to bring with them, so they visit our grocery stores, they visit our restaurants, and spend money in Oldham County. It is amazing this year the number of people from out of town, from Indiana, southern Indiana, and from parts other than the surrounding counties that came to our fair this year. So I think we are really, really boosting the tourism in Oldham County. I did want to give you an update on our Easter egg hunt. This year, we had a tremendous amount of people come to the free Easter egg hunt. Another thank you to the citizens of Oldham County. We had over 600 children come, and that doesn't include parents. We had numerous suggestions. We were not expecting that many people, but we did have an Easter basket for every child. So next year, we're going to double the area that we're going to have for hunting Easter eggs and change the way that the people get to hunting their Easter eggs so that everybody can have a more enjoyable time. I just wanted to mention, too, some of the things that we have at our fairgrounds that benefit the county. We have our grounds available to members of other nonprofit organizations, namely the LaGrange Fire Auxiliary, 4-H, Oldham County Homemakers, Oldham County Extension Office, Antique Iron, Crusade for Children. We've had various churches park over there, Girl Scouts, employees of the prison. Our own solid waste management has an annual shredding event and the annual hazardous waste pickup at our fairgrounds. They've been doing that for a good number of years. I don't even know how many. It's been quite a long time. Although I hear they're getting their own shredder, so we probably won't have that one. Even a company that was paving some county roads parked their equipment overnight for a good number of nights at our fairgrounds, and we let them do that. So I just wanted to say thank you for supporting the Oldham County Fair, and we hope that you will also support the events that we are having down there. And we need your help. We need your help to get the word out about our fair, get the word out that we need people to help us down there, and let them know that we are here for Oldham County. I would say if you polled the people in your district, you'd find out that probably 80 or 90% of them believe that our fairgrounds is owned by Oldham County and is kept up by Oldham County. We are, as you know, a private institution. It is owned by itself. We are landlocked with our 19-plus acres. So sometimes it gets hard to make ends meet. We still have insurance bills, we still have electric bills, water bills all year round. And we have to make money other times besides the fair to make those ends meet. It can be hard. I think you've also noticed a lot of new things going on down there. Because we are landlocked, we have to make accommodations for making areas for the carnival rides at our fair. Also, when we have motorsports events, we need a larger pit area. And also, we have a level area that can be used as a large parking lot. So we've had several churches in the past that have needed parking lots to shuttle their people to conferences and things like that. So now we have extra parking also. So come down and see our fairgrounds. Our new concession stand is almost done, and we'd like to give you a tour of that. And thank you for your time today, and I hope that we see you at an event down at the Oldham County Fairgrounds soon. Any questions? All right, thank you very
Magistrate
much.
Leslie.
Yes, I'd like to mention, and a lot of people don't realize this, that the Oldham County Fairgrounds is a 501c3 organization, so any contribution that you make to the Fair Board is tax deductible.
Thank you, we appreciate that. And we do thank all of our generous donors that have helped us along. You can see all their things on the fence.
Right?
Any other questions? Thank you very much
All
for
right,
your time.
Thank you, and good luck. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the fiscal court in open comment? All right, seeing no one, I'll close that part of the meeting and go on to the first thing here. We have a presentation from the Health Department regarding the Zika mosquito season that's here. And Teresa Gamsky and Kathy Fowler are here from the Health Department. So,
Good afternoon, gentlemen, and Ms. Sheila. My name is Teresa Gamsky. I'm the Director of Public Health for Oldham County Health Department. You know, we are charged to prevent the mitigation of disease across the community, and one of those areas is the Zika incidents that we have going on in the states. This last year, we have applied for some additional grant funding through the state. It has been awarded to us. And so with that said, I want to give your attention to our resident subject matter expert, Ms. Kathy Fowler, is one of our registered sanitarians.
I want to thank the judge and the magistrates for giving us just a few minutes to talk about Zika. I know probably you may be a little sick of hearing it. You've heard it in the news. If you haven't, let me briefly tell you about some of the initiatives that the Health Department is currently undertaking related to Zika response. Zika, as most of you probably know, is a mosquito-borne disease, and there is great concern about it because it is very prevalent in a lot of the countries that people in Oldham County are visiting. And one of the concerns is that it will get into the mosquito population in the U.S. It has already made its way into Florida and into parts of Texas. I think that's under control at this point, but the concern is that it could come here. So the state has provided additional funding, grant funding, to increase states' capacity to respond to a Zika event, should it come further north, so to speak. Some of the grant funding that we've been provided is directly related to mosquito control. Kentucky is not a big mosquito state like Florida and some of the others, but we do have the two mosquitoes that have been shown to carry Zika virus in our state. They are Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus. The Aedes aegypti mosquito is the primary vector for this disease, and it is very low numbers in Kentucky. However, we do have it. Aedes albopictus is also a vector of the disease, and we have very large numbers of that mosquito. So one of the things that we have been provided funding for is to increase our surveillance. At this time, the health department is underway. We have been provided funding and the equipment to begin doing mosquito trapping in the county and in our ad district, a little bit of funding for that. And what's that's going to allow us to do is to monitor the mosquitoes that are here in the state, and also to respond and see if we have the virus if it were to come into Kentucky. As I mentioned previously, one of the main ways that this disease could get into Kentucky would be through travelers. And so also part of the funding that we've received has been to provide some directed, targeted mosquito control efforts around travel cases of Zika. What that means is a person who went to one of these countries or went to southern Florida, got Zika, and came back and got bit by one of our mosquitoes, theoretically, although low risk, they could give that disease to the mosquitoes here in Kentucky. So if we get travelers in our state, in our area, we now have a means to do some targeted response in and around their area, and also do surveillance. So what we wanted to do was encourage, I guess, fiscal court to be aware of these initiatives, and also to get the word out. And can I put this on? Okay. No. Is that correct? I don't know if you can see it or not. But for those of you who don't know, all mosquitoes are going to, they all need water to grow and develop. And today it is Zika virus. Tomorrow it could be West Nile, it could be dengue, it could be some other vector-borne disease. But the primary message that we want to get out to the community is an education message, is that these particular mosquitoes are container breeders, and they are going to grow in and around your home. So the message to the public is you want to stop them from breeding in your own area. So you need to get out into your yards, you need to dump those water bowls, those bird baths, old tires, cover them if you've got them, wear repellents when out, and avoid these types of bites anytime that you're out in the public. So we'd like to encourage the fiscal court to share that message, kind of be an advocate for this education. If there's any questions about what we're currently doing or what we're going to be doing, we have always historically responded to complaints when we had the materials to respond to, and by that I mean larvicides. We've gotten several complaints this year about abandoned swimming pools. People are concerned about mosquitoes, so we're responding to those. We now have some larvicides that we can respond to them. So I wanted you to be aware of our initiatives and answer any questions that you might have about it.
Anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask Kathy about, Steve or Magistrate Greenwell?
Kathy, what types of insecticides might be used to combat this?
The state is recommending a permethrin-based insecticide. It's called Vectorbac. The county health department, we've also looked at using a product called Maverick, which is a little more environmentally sensitive to pollinators. We don't anticipate doing a lot of spraying, but because of this funding, we do have the capacity now. And this entire grant is to build capacity for the future, not just for Zika today. Like I said, historically we've not had a lot of capabilities, and this will give us that opportunity. So,
Thank you.
any other questions?
I think a really interesting detail that you had, even though you said it was a small chance, I'd like to repeat it. People could actually give the mosquito the virus if you brought it back, if you were infected somewhere and brought it back here.
Yes.
Most of the time you think that an animal or something that bites is going to give you it only, but you don't realize you can be a carrier yourself.
It can go back, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That was one of the other recommendations, and this is something you can take home, I guess, to your own personal lives, is that travelers are encouraged to wear repellent even when they return from these areas, even if they are not visibly sick, because with this disease, it's generally mild. Most people probably don't even know they have it. So those people may be inadvertently giving it to other individuals, or giving it to the mosquito population. There were 5,000 people, over 5,000 people in the U.S. that were travel cases of Zika. So you can understand, and at least 37 people were identified, actually got tested and were identified as travelers in Kentucky. So. Any other questions?
Magistrate Leslie.
Yes, I know when they had the Olympics in South America, there were some Olympians that refused to go. Can you tell me what the symptoms are of the Zika virus?
Yes, sir.
And I know it is prevalent, it's especially a problem with women who are pregnant.
Yes, sir, and that is the primary concern. in general terms, many of the people that have Zika have no symptoms at all. And that's why there is such a concern about the travel, is because you may not know you're even sick. It's probably less severe than many of the other mosquito-borne diseases. If you have symptoms, they're generally mild. You may have a rash, fever, conjunctivitis, joint pain, and those are, if you have symptoms. The serious side effect is for pregnant women. Pregnant women can pass it on to their unborn infant, and it has been shown to be a serious causal, a very strong link to birth defects, brain birth defects, including microcephaly, and you may have heard that mentioned on the TV, and other birth defects as well, but it's quite risky for pregnant women. I think statistically right now there's been close to, it's 1,579 is what CDC has recognized of women who have completed term pregnancies with this disease, being infected with Zika, and of those, 80 women had serious birth defects. That may not sound like a huge number, but it's much higher than the rate of birth defects per capita. Any other questions?
Other than South Florida, where would be the closest destination around here someone could travel to and perhaps contract?
Well, last year, Southern Florida, Miami-Dade had some local acquired cases. They had over 200 locally acquired cases. What that means is a mosquito in Florida bit somebody. They didn't bring it in. Brownsville, Texas also had a few cases last year. What I read is that CDC has released the travel advisory for Miami-Dade at this point. So I think that's great news. They were able to control the spread there. Puerto Rico is a very prominent area that has had epidemic numbers of cases there. And again, I think they're now getting a handle on it. Some of the areas that travel destinations are Mexico, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti. A lot of mission trips go there. There are many countries. There are 40 countries that are currently under travel advisory by the Centers for Disease Control, mostly for pregnant women, but also for, and I didn't mention this, but you can also acquire Zika through person-to-person contact sexually if that person is infected. So again, it's not only the pregnant women, but it may be their husbands, their spouses, their significant other that are going to these areas and possibly bringing it home. So, any other questions?
Well, thank you very much, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk
Appreciate you
about it.
bringing the information to us, and thank you for the Fight the Bite fly swatter. Okay. Our next item here on the agenda is a tax presentation from the Health Department. Teresa Gamsky, Director.
I'd love to hear two public health announcements before I even get here. Our public health system is large and vast in our community. What I'm passing out here today is the taxing district budget for the FY18 budget for the health department. I'll let her get those passed out, and I'll go ahead and put one on the slide. And Sheila, I've got one up here on this slide too. I think you have in your packets the state resolution that the Board of Health signs to indicate the recommendation of taxing district funds. For the FY18 budget purposes, the Board of Health has recommended the 2.5 cents of $100 of assessed property values. That taxing rate was approved in 2015. On the screen, you can view the FY18 taxing district budget. This account, the taxing district account, funds the health department operations account. And this funds all the operations, the obligations that we're to meet via the health department. We also receive limited funds from state and federal programming. We have a small amount, a limited of earned income through clinic services income in that way. But this obligation meets the obligations we have to perform services either by state statute or by mandated agreements with the Department of Public Health. Additionally, we do have some additional income when we apply for grants or extra income that we can have some flexibility with. One of those grants at this time, based on issues we've identified in the community, is our Drug-Free Communities Grant, and it will bring in approximately $750,000 over a period of 5 years to support coalition work and evidence-based interventions within law enforcement, within the schools, also funds some different initiatives through Operation Parent and our community partners. So can I answer any questions for you about the taxing rate for FY18?
Measure Leslie.
Judge, thank you. Teresa Gamsky, had the pleasure of talking to you several months ago.
Sir.
We covered quite a variety of issues. And I don't remember, but when you originally came to us with this tax increase, it was the only one that you have ever asked for since the inception of the health department. And I can't recall when the health department originally started, but I think it was under Judge Wendell Moore. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what year was that?
I believe it started earlier than that. We had done a real short history on that. I believe it started in the late 20s, possibly. I'd have to look back at my documents.
Well, I do think the last time the tax rate was set was approximately 40 years ago.
Yes.
And when you came to us, a lot of people do not understand all the different areas that you're required to do. And it's a significant number of different things, such as inspecting restaurants and different things like that. And if you go to a restaurant and they have their score up there and it says C, that's a restaurant you might want to avoid because it has significant problems. So, but after our discussion, I do appreciate the work that you do. It's more than I wanted. We had a very candid talk. We didn't agree on everything, but you did enlighten me. When you first came to us with this, it is the only tax increase I have ever voted for. It is also going to be the last one I've ever voted for, just so you know. And I talked to a friend of mine who we talk about, and I said, broke my promise, and I said yes to the health department, and I told him the amount that you had requested, and he said, Bob, don't worry about it. It's such an insignificant cost to all the citizens of the community in the value of what you do. He said, under the circumstances, I think you made the right decision. So I wanted to let you know that.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so much for your time that you gave me in your office.
You're welcome, absolutely, anytime.
Anybody else have any questions here? Essentially, I'm going to just, your proposed budget for 2018 for the taxing district is $1,608,000, and you expect to probably transfer $1.4 million of that to the health department. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. We have a two-tier arrangement here. We have a taxing district. The taxing district funds the health department. And that's the way it is in each county in
And
Kentucky.
actually, the taxing district monies fund approximately 50% of our obligations in the health department operating account. So the other 50% is, again, by those revenue sources that I mentioned earlier. So we did see an increase in property values this year that was very much welcomed across our community, I'm sure, as well. So that really supported the needs of the future of public health in our community and allowed our board to think about the future and where we need to go as a public health agency to cover the needs of the future Oldham County.
Right, well, we're proud to say that we're consistently ranked as either the first or second most healthy county in Kentucky, and we appreciate the health department's participation in that. We have a lot of good fortunate factors that lead to that ranking, but the health department's misunderstood by a lot of people. It's not a walk-in clinic,
No,
although it
sir.
does provide clinic services under certain circumstances to people. So, but your main charge is to help provide a successful environment for the entire community,
Absolutely.
a healthy environment.
Well said. Thank you.
Judge, one more thing.
Okay, sure.
Teresa, would you please do me a favor?
Sure.
I know Madonna Ringswald is on your board,
Yes, sir.
and several months ago, I had a very candid speech or talk with her. I appreciate her candor. I took what she said seriously, and I appreciate her being there for me. And I've known her for quite a while, but I didn't have a chance to actually say thank you
Pass
to
that
her, and
on.
I would appreciate if you'd say that.
Dr. Ringswald she's been the medical director for the health department for over 20 years, close to 25 years, if I'm not mistaken. And so we appreciate her valued leadership in that, with among all the other things that she's doing in the community as well.
I understand.
I'll pass that on.
She's a great OD.
Yes, sir. Any other questions you all might have about programming?
Apparently not, so thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
today. Appreciate your time, and continue to do a good job. The next item on the agenda now has to do with a bid opening, and I believe that we have a road resurfacing project on Old LaGrange Road.
We didn't approve that tax rate. Judge.
Sir,
I think
Magistrate
our
Likens.
county attorney said we probably need to approve that tax rate.
That tax rate was approved in 2015. It's not, it's already been approved.
Unchanged.
It's unchanged, right. Right, so I don't think we need to do anything about it. It's just, when there's not a change, it's just a notification.
Right, as long as we don't change the tax rate, we don't have to vote on it.
All right, now, we had a road resurfacing project. Magistrate Greenwell, would you like to say anything about that?
Just that we have money after we've resurfaced all the roads that we had planned on, and this one is the next one on the list. We have, we think, enough money left over to do this before the end of the year, and that depends on the bids. So rather than do a budget amendment, we'd like to go ahead and get this much-needed road resurfaced if we can meet the requirements.
And we had just one bidder on this, apparently. Is that correct? No, you have, I'm wrong. We have several.
Looks like 5.
Yeah, all right. Got that confused with one other thing here. Flynn Brothers Contracting, $86,397. All Contracting, $79,249.99. Louisville Paving and Construction, $103,406. Mac Construction, $99,011. Riverside Paving, $81,090. Final bid, Wingham Paving, $77,424.68. All right, I'm going to turn these over to our county engineer, Scott Harris. I believe you'll be able to look through the bottom bid or two and tell us if the bottom bid is acceptable. The next item here, we attempted to secure a bid regarding a irrigation system for the courthouse property. We did not, we had several people call about it, ask about it, but no one actually submitted a bid. We do have, the next item is a bid opening for a metal structure. That was building that we would like to build down at the Oldham County Police Department. Police are short of space for evidence storage and vehicles, other things that they need to take possession of following investigations. And so the bid here is from Badgett Construction Company. That was $96,500. We'll turn this over. We'll let the building committee evaluate this. You know, we may or may not accept the bid.
Judge, could you tell me what the size of this building is?
40 by 60.
40? Thank you, Patty.
40 by 60, right. Our intention is to put it at near the tower down there, move the dog park to the east slightly, 40 feet, slip it in behind the dog park and the tower. Measure Greenwell.
Judge, I noticed that the police department has evidence, vehicles, and things like that stored in the salt dome. Is that not sufficient to take care of this for the present being?
Chief, would you like to address? I'm going to ask our chief, Greg Smith, to address the question here.
In the answer to your question, yes. For time, we can handle that. We have, I think we have 3 cars totally stored in there. The problem that we have is if we have a car we have to search or process, we need to have it in a dry spot to do that. Currently, to do that, we'd have to move a car out and move one in. Our evidence room is loaded with all kinds of evidence. We need to spread it out. Mainly bikes, tools, lawnmowers and things like that we have that we need to put secure someplace. And then actually a good secure spot where we can thoroughly search a car. We really don't have that right now. But I mean, we get by the way we are right now, but the building someday, I think, is going to be critical. But to answer your question, yes, sir, we can get by currently.
Any other questions? Other than leave a misleading impression here, this bid is considerably higher than the amount of money we budgeted for it, like by 3.
Surprisingly high.
Right. So that's why I said that we'll have to look at this. Right. Okay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda here has to do with the payables, and when you're ready, I'll accept a motion to pay the bills.
Judge, I move we pay the payables.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on anything here today? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-1. The next item has to do with surplus property, and We'll ask our county treasurer, Melissa Horn, to make a report on that.
Asking you today to formally surplus two police Crown Vics. They are both 2009 is the model year. These vehicles were sold Saturday at the surplus auction, so this is now a formality for you to surplus them.
I'll make that motion, Judge.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that, surplusing two Crown Vics that came up later here? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. We have a bid award for audit services. Ask our Chief Financial Officer, Stan Clark, are you prepared to discuss that?
We received and opened at the last fiscal court meeting a bid from CPA firm for the audit of fiscal court. The firm checked out the peer review letters, and they're on record. They do several other fiscal court counties in Kentucky. Their bid was less than what we've been paying the state. And so we like to award the bid to the firm, Lentz.
Say that a little louder, please.
Lentz is, yeah, that's right.
Lentz?
Yeah,
All right.
CPA.
Stan's having a little bit of, you know,
Yeah, whatever.
speaking issue here today. It's all right. At least it's not the Zika virus.
Yeah.
Who's that to?
Well, the name of
On the minutes, it says Roy Hunter, certified CPA.
Lori Hunter, and it's with Ed Lentz, yeah. So it's Roy Hunter CPA is the firm.
Okay, that's what threw
sorry
me
about
off.
that.
I didn't see that. It's Roy Hunter CPA is the actual firm, but you're
Right.
talking about the guy that works there. Okay,
Right.
all right, thank you. It's for 12/9/25.
Correct.
I don't even. Manager Greenwell.
Will this be the first time that the state hasn't performed the audit ever?
No. We use Tishner's and firms. There's times where the state has basically said they will not audit us, okay? And they didn't want to audit us for the previous year. And they've been coming in extremely late. We've been trouble having issues meeting compliance with some of our statutory reporting because our reports have been coming out in March. And they basically under-budgeted and understaffed, and they basically, and last year we didn't do it because we couldn't swing it quick enough. But also by law, once every 4 years, the state must audit us as well. So it's always good to get rotating and different people. But the last time, I can't remember the year, but I was here, so it was Tishner's. It was a firm out of Middletown.
And did they come in on time and be, more prompt, I guess?
Yeah, we've learned that firms like this are very prompt, and we hope to get this audit back extremely quick. We hope to, maybe perhaps by Labor Day this year, as soon as we can get the books closed. And the state may hold up our audit from the start because they issue updated documents to perform the audit each year to these firms. And last year, they didn't even get the form out till August. So it's hard to, to start an audit before then.
What's your time frame? What would be your ultimate time frame to get the audit back? What's your preferred, or you said statutory, when do we have to have it back by?
We have some federal guidelines that we have to have it back by March 1st, basically, okay? But from being usable and reporting to banks and Standards and Poor's and stuff, it's always, they don't understand why we don't have a report by October or November. And it's not your standard audit report either. The state does a cash audit, and it's basically a statement of cash is what it is.
Anybody have any further questions here? All right, hearing none, all in favor of moving, pardon?
There's no motion.
Oh, is there a motion to move the audit to the Ed Lentz and who else there? I don't have a document in front of me here.
Second.
Move it to Roy Hunter, CPA.
Second.
$12,950. Pardon? All right. Which is somewhere in the neighborhood of what? $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 less than we paid this year.
Yeah, because that includes the audit of the jail commissaries, so it's going to save us $4,000 or $5,000 versus the state.
Second.
Is there any further discussion on that? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Judge?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to go ahead and do this awarding of the paving job. Through the miracles of texting, I found out that Wingham Paving is the best bid, lowest and best bid, and I would make a motion that we award the resurfacing project for Old LaGrange Road to Wingham Paving for $77,424.68.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded, the Old LaGrange Road paving job be awarded to Wingham for $77,400
$424.68.
$424.68. All right. Everybody okay with that? No, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so moved. And they need to get on that right away and be done by the 30th of this month, correct?
Wesley Williams, our road superintendent, called them and, stressed that to them, and they said they'd get on it right away, so they know the requirements.
All right, well, we'll call them this afternoon. It just did, oh, okay. All right, don't call before the vote. All right, we're up to community business now, item D. This is a public hearing. This is the second reading of our 17-18 fiscal year budget. This is intended to be a public hearing, which means that anyone who is here to speak in favor of it or to speak in opposition to it will have an opportunity to speak. Looking around the room here, I see most of the faces here, and I want to ask now, is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor or in opposition of the budget? Saying no one, I'll close the public part of this hearing and go on now to see if there is a motion to bring this into discussion and approve it. Magistrate Tice?
I'd like to make that motion that we accept the year 2017-2018 budget. We had a couple of small modifications to what was the original and first reading, but nothing very large at all, just moving a few things around, and I'd like to move that we accept it now.
I'll second that, Judge.
All right, moved and seconded, and now discussion.
I have one comment. With Measure Tice's leadership, this has gotten easier over the last 5 years, so.
Great, thank you. Measure Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. Can we ask what the modifications were? And
I was afraid you were going to ask that. Stan, we need you quickly. Do you know what couple of little are, Melissa, either one? I know we moved 100,000 from one line to just into.
There was two modifications. At first, we met with the Tourism Commission, and that's a pass-through where we collect the funds in and then we write the checks to tourism. It's pass-through. And we got together and revised the amount of expected revenue, and so we upped the budget number of revenue by about $5,000, and we upped the expenditures to tourism by about the exact same amount. The other thing is we also met with the extension, and they had in there where they were running out of space, and they wanted $100,000 for the building, but the building is owned by Fiscal Court, so that $100,000 has been placed over in our maintenance as for Fiscal Court improvements. And at the same time, the state controls their budget somewhat and had told them to put in 3% raises, and they had also asked to add a half a person, but the state has put in a hiring freeze and reduced their raises to 2.5%. And this resulted in an approximate little over $15,000 reduction in expenses. So that $15,000 was reduced, and it was added into our IT budget to help to go towards the court system, the video system here, which is near the end of its life. And those are the two changes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stan.
Is there anyone else Magistrate Hounds?
As being the new person up here, I spent a couple hours with yourself and Stan going over this, and it's a very, well, I mean, you can see all the pages of it. It's a very interesting document. There's a lot of things that are passed through, and I guess what I know and what I see, I understand, but there's so much in here that I don't know yet that I truly understand. And to tell the general public that there's a lot more to this than I guess is what's written on paper. I don't know how the best way is to describe it, but the numbers all match. That's a good thing with any budget, right? Having done a couple of budgets myself with fire department, different things, a lot more line items on here than what I ever expected.
I can make
lot of
a
moving
comment on that. This is like a large corporation, and we've got Stan and Melissa working diligently at this. And they meet with directors, and they look at past expenses, what they're in the budget, their current budget they're in, how their expenses are, and there's ups and downs, and then there's a lot of estimating, as well as a lot of research to see where our revenue is going to come in. So it's a large budget. There's a tremendous amount of work that goes into this. So, and when it all condenses, you see what the lines are and not all the work and the reference to and from last year's and the years before as to where we are this year. So that's the parts that you don't see. And our committee gets the privilege of sitting down with them and going through some of that. So that makes you feel
Right,
any
every
better.
one of every line in this, I don't know how many pages we have in this budget, 30 or 40? We have 33 pages here. Every page has a bunch of lines on it. Every line has a lot of thought behind each line, actually. And so we appreciate the trust the community extends to us to try to use this revenue successfully to protect our community and move our community forward, make a better community, and be responsible on the things that we do. So we're fortunately able to do this without any tax increase, and but that's been offset by the growth in the property tax increase, by the growth in the community over the years. So I know it takes you sitting here for a couple of years to really be able to go through this and get a handle on a lot of it. Even then, I didn't say all of it, because it's a lot of moving parts here. So,
Judge, I'd like to say something.
yes, sir.
What the community may or may not realize is the way we spend our money in this county, in the way we pay off our debt. I do believe at this point we're the highest rated county in the state credit-wise. So if we wish to borrow money for bonds or whatever, our credit rating is so good that we have no problem getting bonds or whatever we need at the lowest possible interest rate. And that's because we take the budget very, very seriously, and that we take a lot of work putting it into there. And when the directors come and they request funds for their department, they're scrutinized very, very carefully, so that when we do spend money, we realize it is not ours, it belongs to the taxpayers of this county, and we do our very, very best to make sure that everything that we do is in the best interest of the community, and that shows in our credit rating. So I want to take my hat off to everybody who's had a part of the budget. It's not an easy thing to do, And probably in the next few weeks, we'll start for next year's budget.
Thank you. Is there any other comments or questions?
Judge?
Yes, sir.
I don't like turmoil or upheaval or angst any more than anybody else does, but there's two things about this budget that concern me, and one was that some magistrates were asked to come in and sit down and talk it over and go over it line by line, and I, for one, was not asked to do that for whatever reason. I know the members of the Finance Committee didn't need to do that because they worked in it, but I personally would have made the time to do that so that I could ask questions and things like that, which I did on my own anyway. The second thing is that I came before the Finance Committee in February and expressed my concern about how we just are slowly creeping and hiring more people and getting more people on the payroll. And in some cases, I understand we have to expand services and we can't avoid that. But I just think that we've probably, in the last 6 years, have almost hired a total of 10 people, including this budget here. And so I just don't think that we just need to be spending money to be spending money and employing people. I think that people should be hired on their merits, and I've heard it said that we don't want people to wait in line or have to wait to get something done. Well, people have to wait all the time to get something done or to get a permit or to seek services. I mean, it just isn't instantaneous. And the fact that we need to hire people because there's a waiting period, I don't think is a good reason for possibly a $60,000 investment to make the line shorter. So anyway, that's two things that I wish.
Don't mean to, are you talking, referring to fiscal court or some other agency? We don't really have anybody that, any people where they line up and do anything in the fiscal court.
Well, the issue I'm talking about is a new hire for the inspection department. We have two people that work there now, and I understand we're going to hire another one. And back whenever we had 850 housing starts, we had two people, and we were able to take care of 850 housing starts, and I don't believe we're anywhere close to that right now. I doubt we're very close to half of that. And so how did those two people handle that many back then, back in 05, 06? And now all of a sudden, two people, it's not the same two people, can't handle half of that many starts, is my question.
Okay, that's a fair question. Let's see if we can get an answer to it from Jim Urban, who supervises that department.
Thank you, Judge. Magistrate Greenwell, I'm sorry, you're inaccurate. When we had 650 building permits on average, we had 3 inspectors. We had 2 building inspectors and we had an electrical inspector. What's happening right now is we're seeing a lot of remodels, a lot of swimming pools, and what I'm requesting in my budget is for an electrical inspector. We have 1 electrical inspector. If he falls, gets sick, takes a vacation, inspections stop because nobody else can inspect electrical but a certified electrical inspector. So what I'm requesting is another electrical inspector. Jerry works and he carries over vacations time and time and time again because he's dedicated, loyal to his job. They're doing anywhere from 12 to 18 inspections per day, covering 184 square miles in the county. And I'm sorry I wasn't prepared to talk to you about this because I wasn't aware that you weren't in favor of this, but I can show you how our inspections have risen and our building permits have risen. We're at over 300 single-family building permits per year. What we're intending to do is actually get our chief building inspector level 3 certified so that we can actually do commercial inspections as well. Because right now all the plan review and building inspections for commercial industrial go out to the state. In doing that, we would provide better customer service, not just for houses and permits, but for the economic development that we're trying to encourage in Oldham County. Instead of spending 45 days with a plan review in Frankfurt, we'd be able to do it in 3 to 4 days in Oldham County. So, and we're looking at the whole growth of the county and the bigger picture in terms of our ability to do inspections. We need another inspector to do that. The other thing that we're intending to do is, right now, the HVAC inspections are done by the state, and we're going to request, if we get another inspector in, that we'll be able to actually bring in the HVAC inspections, because what's happening is people aren't calling for the HVAC inspections. And so we have a building inspector go out and there's no sticker for HVAC, and we have to charge reinspection fees. And it's not the reinspection fee that I'm concerned with. It takes time to go back to that facility. And we actually can do that. We used to do that when we had 3 inspectors. So in terms of the whole program, it's not just adding on one employee just because we don't want people to wait in line for a permit. It has nothing to do with permits. It's actually traveling around the county, doing the inspections. And again, the key thing is, the most important thing is, that if Jerry Dunaway, our electrical inspector, should fall, get hurt, take a vacation, become ill, our inspections completely stop, because nobody else is allowed to make electrical inspections other than a certified electrical inspector. So that's really the reason it's in the budget.
I understand that, and it sounds to me like there's a duplication of services between us and the state. And if we were to hire this other person, then could the state fire somebody to get rid of them? And I think you have the answer to your problem. It's just that people have to wait a little while. And I don't know why Oldham County should have to bear the brunt of making this whole system quicker whenever it's actually a state problem.
Well, the state does not do residential electrical
I
inspections.
understand that. I'm talking about commercial. And, I mean, if we can do it in 3 to 4 days and it takes them way longer than that, that's not our problem.
Well, on those lines, when we're trying to encourage economic development in Oldham County, and we can streamline the process and actually capture that revenue, because if we do this, we will be revenue neutral. And again, I wasn't aware that it was a problem. I can go downstairs and get the information, bring it up here in 5 minutes, and show you how our revenue projections actually neutralize themselves with an additional person and being able to do the state inspections. It really isn't about firing somebody from the state, or it's about customer service that's key in inspections. We're going to have growth whether we like it or not, and in order for us to cover that, I have to have the personnel to be able to do it.
But you're still not anywhere close to our maximum housing starts that we used to have, even with 3 inspectors. You're about half.
But we're also doing more inspections because we have pools, we have apartments, we have commercial, we have renovations and remodels.
We had all of that back in 2006.
No, sir, we didn't. We had more single-family new construction than we did.
I understand that. But also, there was remodeling going on back then. People can't afford to buy a new house. They remodel.
Magistrate, I don't want to get in an argument over. I've studied them.
Well, I was here.
I have a folder downstairs.
I was here and you weren't. I was here and you weren't.
Well, I was here in 1999, 2000, 2001, when we were seeing incredible growth, and we were seeing 650 single-family building permits.
That
I
still
was here.
wasn't the max. The max was in years when you weren't here.
Okay.
We'd agree to disagree, Jim. I mean,
Okay. Well, I want to say one last thing, though. You know, in order to efficiently run a department, it seems as though every time I try to even replace a person, I'm up against the same issue. And, you know, we all work really hard. There's nobody just standing around. We're all dedicated employees. I love my staff. I think that they're more important than I am. And I'm requesting that you consider this request for an additional electrical inspector, because it's incredibly important for us to be able to perform our job. We really don't have enough personnel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is good, because, you know, we all don't see and perceive everything the same way and see the same needs. One thing that didn't come out in the questioning there, we would collect fees if we did the state is going to move their man out of our building here that they have here. We would collect his fees, correct? If we, you know. Another factor in there is that our county is growing. We are bigger than we used to be. So I don't know how much we've grown over the last, we're 17 years away from 2,000 or whatever, but certainly we're up 18,000 people in that time. So a certain number of other things are getting built that need inspections that weren't there previously. So that might be one reason that they feel there's more activity down there. But I understand what you're saying. We're trying very hard not to engage in employee creep or personnel creep, if you will, because we want to be as lean and mean, so to speak, as we can be. But we are also trying to get economic. We have a couple of people have expressed interest in putting lodging facilities in our community, 2 hotels. Well, if they have to, if you can't get any inspections out of Frankfurt, word gets around, discourages people from doing anything, and we're trying to encourage employment opportunities in Oldham County. So employers need an opportunity to expedite and not give up, I guess, or quit on us.
Judge, can I just add one more thing? We do all the electrical inspections. The state does not do our electrical inspections. We have one inspector, whether it's a Walmart, a hotel, a single-family house, a multifamily. Our one electrical inspector has to do all those inspections. So that's another reason why I'm looking for an electrical inspector, not.
Well, I was talking about other some state inspections that we would replace, so we'd get a fee for, correct?
Yeah, the HVAC we would replace, yeah, we would get those fees.
It's not total loss in that
Yes,
regard.
Jim, what do other counties our size do? I mean, how do we compare to counties other?
I'm sorry, I couldn't tell you. What I know is, you know, and the only comparison I have is Louisville, and that's not even apples to apples, but, you know, their electrical inspectors are unionized. They do 3 to 6 inspections a day. Ours are doing 12 to 18 inspections a day. And, yeah, I really have never studied what other counties do. I'm just looking at our growth trend.
I understand. I'm just trying to build a contrast and compare to see if we are. Are other counties doing their own HVAC inspections?
Only Louisville does. The rest are, if they have inspection divisions, they were given a chance, and I wasn't here when it happened. I think it was in 2008 or 9, when the state was going to start actually doing HVAC inspections. They gave local jurisdictions the opportunity to take them, and we didn't. And I'm not sure why, again, I wasn't here, but it's not really a money grab. It's that we're already in the building. You know, we go to do a rough inspection. It's very easy for us to look at the HVAC at the same time. And so it's a sensible move for us to make. And again, not focused on money, but efficiency.
Can you cross-train the electrical inspector to an HVAC inspector?
The electrical inspectors can inspect under our building inspector's certification. So they can do footer inspection, framing inspection, and if they are dual certified, they can do the HVAC inspection. But the building inspector can't do an electrical inspection because you have to have certification just in electrical. So we can cross-train over to the building side, but not from the building to the electrical.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to imply that you exaggerated the number, but if we are actually doing 17 to 18 inspections per day per man, that's better than 2 an hour, correct? So
Yep.
that seems like it's moving along at a pretty good clip if you're actually doing more than drive-by or something like that.
Well,
See how you could do 2 an hour.
well, it depends on the day, and it depends on the location, and it depends on the type of inspection. So,
17 to 18 might be the best day if everything worked out right.
yeah, a footer inspection doesn't take as long as a framing inspection. A final inspection is kind of like the final walkthrough, and, you know, the framing inspection is what takes the most amount of time. The rough electrical inspection takes the most amount of time. But remember, if somebody puts up a temporary pole to start construction on a house, our electrical inspector has to go inspect that temporary pole in order for it to be charged by the power company. So you still got to drive there, get out of the car, go make sure the hookup is done right, and put a sticker on it. That's a pretty simple inspection. Doesn't take them 5 minutes once they get out of the car, but they got to drive there and then, you know, the good thing is our current software allows us to actually make sure that that somebody has a permit for certain jobs, and allows us to actually communicate with the inspectors in the field. So there have been times when we've posted an electrical inspection for tomorrow, and the inspector is a mile or 2 away and says, I'll just do it now because it's more efficient rather than running all the way across county the next day. So, and 17, 18 isn't unusual. I said 12 to 18, so, you know, if they're doing 12, the number changes dramatically. That's, you know, but sometimes there's 2 or 3 inspections in one subdivision. Like Brentwood, there are a lot of houses that are under construction right now, so we might be able to get 2 in one, you know, without going very far. So,
A lot of variables in the mix there.
yeah. You got to remember, too, that they also have to review all the construction plans for houses. Every building permit that comes in, we have to check and make sure, so we have administrative time inside the office.
I know we're building a case for why we have to hire this other person, but I'm just telling you that, once again, it's another person on the rolls, and people aren't gonna have to wait as long. I just don't think that's a great big tragedy that they have to wait. Any other county our size, they just wait.
Well, Steve, you're missing my most important point. If Jerry...
I don't think you're getting my most
No,
important
I get
point.
your point. If Jerry gets sick,
I
we have
understand that.
nobody waiting in line because there are no inspections. I'm stuck. We can't do anything if Jerry is out. He can't even take a full week's vacation because we can't, it's 10 inspections a day. He'd come back to 50 inspections plus because he's the only person that can inspect the electrical. If Jerry falls, we're done. We cannot do inspections. I can't overemphasize this. I understand we're adding on personnel. We're adding on personnel in other departments, and yet they don't get scrutinized like this one does.
We're not done.
Okay? Thank you. You know, my point is, we must have another certified electrical inspector, or I have grave concerns that we won't be able to do anything should Jerry get sick or get in a car accident or take a vacation, which he hardly ever does. That's the biggest thing. Magistrate, I understand you're talking about adding on permanent personnel. I get that. I never requested it till this year.
You certainly didn't have a need for it until this year.
Yeah. Well,
If you do now.
well, for the same reason last year, Jerry being out sick, I thought about it. I looked for somebody who might be a certified electrical inspector that we could put under contract. Can't find somebody. The folks in Jefferson County are all union. They can't come out here and do inspections at night.
What about Shelby or?
They don't want to do it. I've looked for somebody. Everybody, I've talked to 5 or 6 different people over the last 3 or 4 years. Nobody is interested in being a part-time, on-call electrical inspector. You know, I've tried everything. I really have. And I mean this in all sincerity. I wouldn't be here asking and talking about it with this amount of passion if it wasn't absolutely critical. So, thank you for
Okay,
listening.
thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
All right. Measure Likens?
Thank you, sir. As a contractor, I wait on inspections a lot of times, and if I've got $2 million into a building and I'm waiting on an electrical inspection, it costs somebody a couple $100 a day for interest on that building that's not finished. So I appreciate the people that are taking care of inspections and making sure that I don't have to wait an extra day, because it's a lot of construction interest that goes out in the air if you're waiting on an inspection. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments about this second reading? All right. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-1. Next item here on the agenda is, this is the second reading for the proposed ordinance that, yes, sir?
Page on the standing orders on the back. Is there a second vote there on the budget?
On the standing orders.
Do we have-
Standing orders?
Standing orders.
All right.
Seemed like we overlooked that last year, and we had to turn around and go back. If my
I
memory...
think we generally approve the standing orders at the first
Meeting of the
this one?
administration.
All right.
My memory's better than I thought.
All right, where are they?
Back at the second page.
Back to the second page.
I'll make the motion that we approve the annual standing orders for the budget year 17-18.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Standing orders are, light bill and things that just come in regularly.
The whole listing's there.
Yeah, don't have to be approved every time. Discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Next item now is the second reading. Magistrate Leslie, this would be of the address ordinance.
Yes, thank you, Judge. To give everybody, I'm going to reiterate some of what I brought up last time for the first reading, but I'll address it again. It was a little over a year ago that Kevin Nuss contacted me in reference to our addressing ordinance. That particular ordinance now is 40 years old and has not been changed in any manner whatsoever. But in the last 40 years, there have been a lot of changes in the county, and that has to do with all types of buildings. He asked me if he wanted him to come to the courthouse or I would go to his office, and I said I would go to his office. And to my surprise, I found out there was someone representing every police agency, every fire department, the GIS manager, the Director of Planning and Development, Todd Early, I believe it was, that was there for the ambulance district. So someone from every first responder department was there to discuss this issue. So we wrote and rewrote this ordinance quite a few times because every time we would do it, someone would bring up a different point that we had not done. In the meantime, before we put in some of the things, I started to drive around the county and look at addresses. And it was impossible practically to see some addresses even in the daytime. I had to actually stop my car and look at the address they had or no address that they had on their mailbox or post in front of their house. So when you have a first responder that's going to come to your house at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to find your house and they cannot see your address, a minute or two in time could mean the difference between your life and your death or somebody in your family. So that's why we worked on this ordinance so very, very carefully, because so many different issues came up as we wrote this. So at our last meeting, the GIS manager was there, the Director of Planning and Development was there, Todd Early was there, the Chief of Oldham County Police was there, Bob Dye was there, I was there. I could be wrong, but I think those were all the people that were there at the time, and we discussed this final ordinance that is in front of you. In the meantime, I went around my neighborhood and I said, since I'm the one that's going to bring this to fiscal court, I explained it to them and I offered to pay for the numbers for everyone in my neighborhood. And I had one neighbor who said, I will pay you for them, and I said, no, that's okay. But I did give him the numbers. One of the people in my neighborhood is a first responder. He's a firefighter in Louisville. He thought it was a great idea because being a firefighter in Louisville, he comes up with the same issues that the first responders do have here. And he really felt that it was time for us to come into the 21st century with this ordinance. And I'm going to read this in part and let you know what we have been doing. So this is ordinance number 17-30-378, and it says, an ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance KOC number 87-300-320.3 and 150.055-150.999, replacing to addressing identification markers for properties in Oldham County. Whereas Section KRS 67.083 and other applicable law grants Oldham County Fiscal Court authority to provide for the public safety, health, and welfare of the citizens and properties located in Oldham County. And whereas Oldham County is now served by emergency police, fire, rescue personnel, and services can be accommodated by homeowners and businesses posting their properties with visible house numbers. And whereas Oldham County Planning and Development GIS Manager does now assign addresses, numbers on public roadways, and with the approval of Oldham County Fiscal Court, has the ability to change address numbers as deemed necessary. Divisions of land can be denied based on ability of GIS Manager to assign a whole number address in compliance with the regulation. And whereas Oldham County Fiscal Court has determined a need to require all residential, commercial, and industrial property located in Oldham County to conspicuously display and appropriate address numbers approved or signed by Planning and Development GIS Manager. Whereas Oldham County Fiscal Court wishes to amend County Code of Oldham County Fiscal Court by repealing and replacing the existing ordinance regarding address identification markers, address numbers, and replace it with the foregoing ordinance. Now, it addresses the address identification markers and what they should be. Furthermore, it goes into single-family duplex and triplex properties, multifamily dwelling communities, commercial buildings, industrial buildings, and manufactured home communities. And I hope everybody that is on fiscal court has had the time to read this ordinance. It is 3.5 pages from the original ordinance that was 1 page. But this has been very well thought out by all the people on the committee and first responders. I did talk to a firefighter here in Oldham County, and he showed me the GIS system that he has on his phone. But he said it is not inexact in that some properties are not properly identified, even though the GIS system is very good. And he was in approval of the ordinance that I'm bringing forward to you today. And I'm asking us to pass this. And so, since this is a public reading, Judge, I'm going to turn this over to you.
All right, this is a public hearing here. Again, like our last public hearing, anyone who's here to speak in favor or in opposition to this ordinance, I would appreciate it if you would stand at this point and be sworn in. Seeing no one here to speak in favor or in opposition to the ordinance, I'm going to close the public hearing. And Magistrate Leslie, you make a motion that we adopt this ordinance?
Yes, Judge. I make a motion that we adopt KOC 17-30-378.
I'll second.
Is there a second? All right, we've got a couple of seconds. All right, now we can have some discussion here. And does anybody like to discuss? Magistrate Tice?
I have one thing that I think Bob needs to read because it's important, those people that are listening to this court session, is what's the penalty and how many days they got to get it done. I think that's key because I read it and made a copy of it to make sure I don't make that mistake.
Well, I will read that. I'm also going to ask Jim Urban to help come up, since it's going to be his department that is going to be in control of compliance on this. So the penalties, and it's under Section 2, state each residential, commercial, or industrial property which is not properly marked within the guidelines of Section 1 will be cited for noncompliance. The fine for noncompliance shall be $200. Any owner manager who has not posted their property in compliance with the terms of this ordinance relinquishes Oldham County Fiscal Court and its emergency service first responders from any liability due to their inability or expeditiously locate and respond to all emergency calls. This ordinance shall be effective upon its passage and advertisement according to law. And just so you know, I have purchased the numbers and put them on my mailbox. So I figure if I'm going to be the one who brings this to fiscal court, is my duty to comply with this ordinance, of which I've done. So Jim, since you're like for instance, if the police department comes across a property that is not in compliance, they'll do an e-call that will go to the Jim's office, and it is their responsibility to take it from there. So Jim, please explain to the court what you're going to do.
All right, well, we have a code enforcement officer who would then take and go out to the property, not that we would not believe that the police officer was inaccurate, but they have to verify verbally, visually themselves, and then we send a notice of violation. And if with that notice of violation, they have an opportunity to put the letters on, the numbers on. The whole point of this ordinance is to get all the addressing done properly, not to fine people, but if they don't, then they get a citation. And the reason for the ordinance having an amount of $200 in it is so that if it goes to the code board, they don't have to guess at what they should fine somebody for not having the numbers. It's just an automatic fine. So we then have the ability to put a lien on the property if they don't pay the fine, and hopefully this isn't going to get down that road. But we do have sometimes we have abandoned properties that still have police calls to it, so we do have to be able to enforce this ordinance through the code board.
And I'd like to say one other thing. I think the GIS manager has warned somebody, I think on 42, for several years that they're not in compliance with an ordinance, and they ignore it. And therefore, after several years of notifications, and they have decided purposely to ignore the requests. That's why the fine is rather steep.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Measure Towns.
This is something that it's great. Being a first responder and trying to find an address of a home sometimes can be difficult, especially with the long driveways or when there's several homes that are together. So this should be a great benefit to the first responders of the Oldham County.
Measure Greenwell.
Thank you. If I see a mailbox now that has like green background with white letters on it, and they're going up and down like this, 3650, for instance, and it says if you're on a directional road, like east, west, north, or south, do they have to go now and put a letter above that number corresponding to their direction?
The letter is on the street name, not on the number name. So if it was, like I'm 1916, if I was south something, then it would only be the 1916. If they have the actual street name on it, they should have a letter, directional letter on it. Most of them are just the numbers.
The example that they put in here is like East 1900. They don't say anything about a street name, but
Well, most buildings do not have the name of the street on them. They have the number of the, in other words, my house, 400, doesn't have a street after the 400.
You just have the number on it.
I understand that, but I'm saying in the example, it says East 1900 if you have a directional road. And over on Highway 22 by my district,
Right.
they almost never find the place anyway because of where the break point is, and we don't have the numbers and everything right. So do they need to go back out on their mailbox and put a letter above the number?
I'm going to let Matt answer that.
For those state highways like that, I would prefer that they do, because 42 is a perfect example, which is just a disaster address-wise. But most people don't know that, like, the break between East and West 42 is Stagecoach, which is like a stone's throw away from the east side of the county.
Right.
And I have had issues with, utility companies saying that they wouldn't bring, stuff out there because those addresses at the time, there's like 1,000 on one side and 1,002 on the other side, and they think that it's the same road when it's not. Like 22, like all the big state roads, it would probably be helpful to have the letter.
Okay. So having just the letters on the mailbox isn't gonna cut it. To be in compliance, you need to have that letter on there also signifying a direction.
Well, I mean, I would maybe leave it up to the homeowner if they wanted to do that. But I think that, like, on those areas where it is close, on the break points, that it'd probably be helpful for them. And we can maybe state that in the letter that we draft, because we're gonna have a standard letter that we're gonna send out with the ordinance so that people can read the ordinance for one, and then just a standard letter to, like, contact the office if they needed to. So we'll probably be available to answer those questions based on the location of where they are.
I think another thing that was our intention, and I know there's several highways, you have 53, you've got 42 and 22, and most people don't know where the breakpoint is. So you could have 1920, and if you put an east, like an E after the address, or 1920W after the numbers, we were looking at that as being appropriate, but you really don't know. 524 is a great example. What's east and what's west? Most people don't know.
Right, 40, like I say, 42 is pretty tough.
But you've got roads that are also east and west.
Yes.
Well, and especially if it's on a mailbox, usually the mailboxes are much larger in the rural routes, and there's room for an additional letter
I mean, now this
or character.
change, like in my neighborhood, I've got Brookside Drive East and Brookside Drive West. Are you saying then that on each one of those mailboxes, we should put
Well, I would think that in subdivisions like that where there's physical street signs, I think that that would be a little bit of overkill. When you're on 53 and you're just driving on 53.
Well, I agree. I'm just, the way that this reads now, I could see where somebody in my neighborhood would think they would have to put an E or a W with their
Well, but you
numbers.
also have to, most of what this is addressing is in the rural parts of the county, because that's where we have the most problems. Any kind of subdivision that comes through our office and gets platted, we already have all the plats and the addresses are just automatically just on the plat. So we don't really run into those problems in like a subdivision type thing where people don't have letters or numbers on their mailboxes in a subdivision. When you get out to like the rural parts of the county where somebody's got a farm and 4 or 5 different people living back there, those are the people that we're trying to, not target with this, but to get more in compliance, because those are the problems that the first responders have, is out in the county. not
I mean,
necessarily
the
in
rule of thumb is be absolutely as clear as you possibly can, because it may save your life.
Yeah.
Well, in a subdivision, you have a street sign. In the rural setting, you don't have a street sign,
Right.
so you can distinguish east and west usually on the street sign. But in the out in, on a highway that's, many miles without.
I try to explain it to the postal office every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Judge?
Yes, sir.
To give you an example, down in Westport some years ago, Front Street did not go all the way through, and someone required an ambulance to get down there. But Front Street had an area of 1 block that was not paved. And so the ambulance went down there, and they said, well, this is the end of the address. And it took them an extra 5 minutes to determine that they had to go back up and get on 524 and come back around and get to Front Street. And so I decided that that area of Front Street needed to be paved. And that helped to alleviate the issue of Front Street actually continued all the way through. So that's been done. Any problems with ambulances getting through in that area now know that this is really before the GIS system was working. So now they know. And as I said, one of the firefighters said the GIS system is not exact. Matt has brought up the point that some people have addresses that are incorrect, because over the last 40 years, there have been a variety of people who've been giving addresses to different locations, and it's gotten muddled, so they really actually have the incorrect address of where they're living.
Right, I'm not sure if I live on a street or avenue. I know what it's called, but it might actually be technically an avenue.
Well, and I run into those, I mean, there are problems like that this is gonna try to help too, because depending on who you talk to or how long they've lived here,
Yeah.
is it Kentucky Street or Kentucky Avenue? The street sign says street, and the PVA and I have street, but everybody knows it is avenue. So I'm not really sure how you alleviate problems like that, which is weird.
Judge? If you were a resident, could you call Matt to get clarification on exactly what your address is? Is that an option?
Yeah, anybody who is gonna get a letter or like get notified that their address is one incorrect or two needs to be changed, there will be a letter from our office that'll say, if you have any questions concerning this, to contact me. So, I mean, that'll be, because we still haven't really thought about how we're gonna roll it out. I mean, I got about 15 people that I know that I've sent letters to before saying that they needed to change their address because it was physically platted as something and they just put up random numbers on their mailbox and they just won't do it. And that was part of the reason why we did this ordinance too, that specifies that I'm the person or whoever is in my job title has the ability to, one, change as deemed necessary, because before, I think just people just put it in a paper shredder and was like, you know, who's Matt? I don't know.
I think another thing that Matt, since we're making sure that Matt is the one who makes sure that addresses are correct, or if he changes an address, he will come to fiscal court for that. So there is a stopgap. He's in charge of ensuring that everybody's addresses are correct. But if he needs to change something, he will come to fiscal court for our approval.
Okay. I think we can probably work on a brochure to put out in public as well, different places to distribute some of the key points on here to help people understand.
And we have a card in our office too downstairs, so when people come in for new building permits, it sort of outlines the size of the number, and that was done by Kevin Nuss, so we can maybe print some of those back out.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, I think we've pretty well aired this out, so if we're ready for a vote, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda here has to do with the Casablanca Pyrotechnics Contract Agreement. And Tim Curtis, are you here anywhere? Apparently not.
Judge, since Tim is not here, I guess I'll take this on. Every year, we have a contract for fireworks. One year, we did not, and we had an uprising in the county because we didn't do it. Some of us believe it's money that's burnt and thrown away. I won't say who that is, but, well, you can, Mike. But what we do is it's a total of $15,000 for Casabella Pyrotechnics. We pay due by June 15th, $7,500 for the fireworks, and then the remaining $7,500 is to pay when they shoot them off. And this is the same contract that we have had for many years, and I'm going to make the motion that we approve this.
Second. All right, moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Next item has to do with our Apple Patch CDBG grant. This is a resolution here, and Melissa?
I have two more agreements to present to you for the Apple Patch Day program grant. One is our authorization and agreement that we are going to follow the Kentucky CDBG procurement code, which is essentially exactly like our procurement code for the county.
So moved.
Moved and seconded that the Apple Patch relocation program follow the established procurement code. Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
The second agreement is a resolution that says, should there be program income from this adult day program, we would use that income to pay for these renovations and relocation costs before we would use any grant money.
Second.
Moved and seconded that program income to the Apple Patch adult daycare be used before state CDBG grant funding, if there is any adult daycare income. Any questions on that, or everybody okay with it? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. All right, next item here on the agenda has to do with an authorization to enter into an agreement with the Kentucky Department of Transportation for a non-standard material light at the intersection of Highway 53 and 146. People have been asking what's going on there. We have construction. They've been installing electrical materials under the road to be able to handle new signalization at 146 and the 53 in LaGrange. That area is also going to be reworked with new paving and also handicap sidewalks, and I believe some historical aspect approach to the thing as well, if I understand that correctly. So the state offered to put in 4 galvanized poles with red lights hanging over the streets. I think we've had discussion with the mayor and others that feel that this is a time to do something better than that. We all know that once something is installed, it generally never comes out again. So this is an opportunity to install better-looking signalization downtown that's more in accordance with the other improvements in downtown LaGrange to make our community more attractive. And LaGrange has agreed to contribute at least $10,000, according to what the mayor's told me, to this. May have more. But I'm going to ask Jim to come forward here now. And we're being asked to do this now because the state is going to determine what the final cost of this is, but they won't determine the final cost, apparently, until we have the agreement that we would like it. There are quite a few moving parts out here in the sense that we have the work, the paving, the necessity to come to some type of decision on this, and also a cost that is not exactly a moving target, but is not exactly pinned down either. We have put there in the budget that was passed, we allocated $70,000 toward this based on what we were told earlier. That number has been reduced drastically. So, Jim, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Thank you, Judge. Typically, the type of poles that the Transportation Cabinet puts up are the steel poles, and they're called string lights, where they put cable across the road and hang the traffic signals from it. This one happens to be at the McDonald's intersection on Kentucky 53 at Crystal Drive. What the proposal is to do, since this intersection is at the really in the historic district in downtown LaGrange, is put something more decorative. And this is an example of a pole at, it's actually at U of L downtown Louisville, but it's called a mast arm. So instead of having the cables and the lights hanging, a mast arm goes out from the pole, and you can put, there are quite a few different types of standards, either for base or pole or mast arm, but again, this was just to show you the difference between the steel pole and something more decorative. A closer detail of the base of that same pole. You can see, again, this is just one example of what you might do. They have, the base is different than the pole. The pole can be a smooth pole or a fluted pole, and in reality, the difference in the price of the two poles is very negligible. What we've been doing is working with the transportation cabinet to try to come up with an idea of what non-standard materials we would put in. And that's why the price is actually still a moving target, because until we actually pick a style and get a quote, we don't know the difference between what the state would pay for the steel poles and what they would ask us in non-standard material. So what I did was I went out and started looking at typical in our area, what kind of poles we might put in. And there's really no standard. You'll go down in LaGrange and you'll see a street light has a different base than even like the clock downtown, and there are several different kinds of street lights. But this one is actually right out here by the Fiscal Court building. All of our regular lighting has this kind of base and pole. So you see it's fairly smooth base and a fluted pole. And again, that was just at least to give an example of, all right, of all of these, which ones might we pick? I have been working with the Transportation Cabinet and their supplier, and there's a company called Milliburn, which the cabinet would actually get the product from. And these are some cut sheets from their catalog. So again, this is just a kind of a smoother base, no real decoration, but it has some character in it. And then you can either add the smooth pole or the fluted pole. All of the mast arms are going to be smooth because they can't make those fluted because they're curved. And then this was just another simple example of what might look good in downtown LaGrange. You see a fairly smooth bottom on the base. This is all part of the base. The pole is up here, but it has some fluting in it. And really the difference in these two samples between this one and this one is only $300 for the entire pole, well, the base actually. We would need 2 poles and 4 mast arms, and I've got and this is really not a hard number yet. Again, the cabinet's going to actually have to go out and get a bid for these, but each pole, mast arm, base, pole, mast arm, painting with 5-year warranty, and delivered would be about $15,000. So for 2 arrangements like that, it would be about $30,000. And when I say that, again, we don't have a real firm bid. So if we've got 70 in the budget, and I say 40, we're very safe at saying that this first estimate again, this is not a bid price, this is just the manufacturer giving me an estimate, because the size of the mast arm is going to matter. We Google mapped it, and he was trying to get an estimate of how far do you stick that mast arm out. They have to calculate all the weights and the loads on that pole. So again, we're probably at $30,000. That does not include what the state would kick in for the standard steel poles. So I don't have a hard number yet, but that's where we've gotten so far, Judge.
Total cost?
About $30,000.
Okay, split with LaGrange?
Well, again, minus what the cabinet would put in, and the difference split with LaGrange. Right. So I think if we said 30,000, we would be safe in case the bid actually comes in a little bit higher, and then we subtract what this cabinet would put in. But they're going to do all the installation. We aren't responsible for installing. We aren't responsible for ordering and delivering. We're just responsible for picking it out and paying the difference. And again, the difference in these two, just as an example, is only $300. So if you like one over the other one, it's not it's not a big difference in price.
So am I correct in saying that if, based on $30,000 figure, just forget the state for a second, our commitment would probably be about 15.
15, yes, sir. Mm-hmm, yes.
Judge, I have a question. Is this in any way going to be timed through the railroad? Or are we going to change, or is the state going to change any of the painting? For instance, if I'm going west on 146 and a train is there, if I want to go straight, I have a line of people who want to turn left. In your right lane is a right turn only. So will they change that to straight or left turn? Because the signal, obviously, if it's not timed to the train, you're going to have a red signal, then you have a green signal, and nobody's going anywhere,
Right, yeah.
despite what the lights are.
Right. My head is nodding yes, but my brain is saying, I don't know how they're doing that. But I remember the cabinet talking about somehow timing those signals in conjunction with when the control arms come down for the train. And I don't know how they do that, but there's some kind of signal that that control arm will send to the traffic signals. And again, I think I just told you everything I know about that. We were always worried about people getting stuck on the track or getting jammed in the traffic signal and not being able to move. But they've assured us that they're going to have some kind of link between the crossing arms coming down and the traffic signals.
Thank you.
Commissioner Eldridge.
Judge, I myself am not a big believer in this project. I think this traffic light is going to create deep-fried confusion there at the intersection. But nonetheless, I think we need to support LaGrange, and I think this is an important part of the historic district. They did not pass their budget in LaGrange last night. But as long as LaGrange is participating, I would make a motion to do this, sign this agreement.
All right. Is there a second? Okay. I'm confident that the mayor's told me that he allocated $10,000 to that. Possibly Jim thinks it might be a little bit more that he has. I'm confident that LaGrange is going to participate. I don't know exactly what their budget disagreement about was last night, but we will, LaGrange will, I'm confident, will participate. Any further discussion?
I just want to make sure this is to make a motion to spend up to $15,000 depending upon LaGrange's match.
No, he just supported, the motion was to participate if LaGrange participates.
Okay, but
I caution us not to get into an exact dollar figure on something that, we're ballparking this a little bit based on Jim's research here. We don't want to, get tripped up in something.
Sure. Judge, can I suggest something? I think the first thing in front of you is this participation in the non-standard materials, and that does not have a price tag to it. So if we can at least agree that we'll participate in the non-standard materials, I'd be happy to come back when I have a much more solid answer, and it may be the very next fiscal court meeting. I just started working on this last week, and I'll come back with real number, and then you can actually know what that number is that you're spending on. But in order to get this project moving beyond the standard steel pole, we need to approve this non-standard agreement.
This doesn't have any money attached to it.
There is no, the last version I
No
saw.
money in the paperwork.
No way in the paperwork, okay.
It did not have a dollar amount in it. You need to know what the dollar amount might be. If it was $1 million, you'd probably say no.
That'd be good.
But at least we have a ballpark number so you can understand that we're going to move forward with a non-standard material. Then we can go ahead and have the cabinet get bids on this, get it approved, and once I know a stronger number, and I think by the next fiscal court meeting, I'll know what that number is.
Will you know what the state's going to contribute towards
Yes.
the project? Okay.
Yes.
Because I don't understand how they don't already know what that number is.
Well, I've been trying to get a hold of the guy, and it's it's text messaging and phone calls. We've been exchanging emails and everything. They don't know what the number is going to be for the non-standard material because they're waiting on us to pick it out.
Oh, but I mean, the standard, they should know if they're going to put up 2 poles and 2 wires, it's $10,000 or $5,000. Then we should be able to take that number off of.
Right.
What I understand, you don't know what material we're going to choose,
Yeah.
but the standard piece should be standard, right? That's what that word means?
Been working on it,
Okay, just check.
you know, hard.
You
but I just-
would have to be somebody who's actually done some interaction with KYTC over a period of time to understand why, you know.
I'll learn that
Well,
someday.
yeah, you know, because the part that's interesting, let me just try to answer that. You know, there's a control box, and that doesn't change, and then there's the poles, and then there's the wire, and then there's the you know, the heads, and they actually have to design all that, believe it or not. It's not like they pick, okay, this is the way it's going to be. An engineer in Frankfurt sits down and says, okay, now let's design this. And they haven't done that because we've said, we're thinking about the non-standard materials. So that's really why they don't have a number. You would think there'd be some ballpark, but I still haven't gotten it.
You assume it's an off-the-shelf purchase, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right, I do assume that.
You know, and of course, wherever we can, we'll be attempting to massage their participation to the, you know, greatest extent they can justify. That's your Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. While I think this project isn't needed at all, that's neither here nor there, and the cost doesn't concern me as much as in reading this agreement, the liability for the poles and everything shifts dramatically from KYTC to Oldham County and LaGrange.
Right.
And I think that's a much more a matter that we need to be concerned about than the cost. If a truck or anything hits one of those poles and it falls over, that would normally be KYTC's department, whereas then it shifts to us, and it's all on us. And so,
Would the insurance company of the party that hit the pole be responsible for the repair? I mean, their dollars?
It's covered under CAECO. CAECO, we've checked, it's part of our, it's a piece of fiscal court property owned by the fiscal court, covered by our insurance plan.
and it sounds to me like we're doing this whole project, and we hope LaGrange will go along with it.
No, the mayor's told me they're in, and I mean, they're, you know, they're participating. I mean, he assured me of their commitment. It's not like we're hoping they go along, unless the city council comes and changes, but, I don't think I hope that wouldn't happen. I mean, this, as I say, everything we have here, from the building we're sitting in to the room we're sitting in, you know, wouldn't be here if somebody hadn't stepped out and said, I want something better than the minimum or nothing.
Judge,
And so,
we're not agreeing
we're
to doing
go-
this
we're-
yet.
pardon?
All we're doing is getting numbers together, right?
well, we have to, we need to say, they want us to sign this agreement for them to go forward to do
Just to get the
work
numbers, but we're not,
right.
we're not agreeing to do the work yet.
Right. No, we're not,
That's
pardon?
correct.
No, they're gonna do the
So we're-
work.
Right, but we're not agreeing to do this yet until he comes back with the numbers.
That's correct.
Right, but we're giving you a hint right now of what we hope and what Jim
Understand,
thinks the
but until
number
we get
is,
the
so.
numbers back, we don't
you
know what it's gonna be.
Pardon?
Until we get the numbers back, we don't know what it's gonna be. Correct? So we can vote not to do it at that time. We're just moving
I
forward
guess you
with the
could.
numbers.
Yeah.
I guess you could.
Yeah, Judge, if I may, you know, this non-standard materials, it triggers really one thing, and that's the transportation cabinet's person who designs signals at intersections to actually design it with the pole and mast arm as opposed to the string lights. And it sounds like a bureaucracy, but that's exactly what it is. Until we do that, they would only design a steel
Our
pole.
mast arm is not going to be as long as what was shown in that picture you had. We don't have 3 lanes of traffic out there. We have one going each way.
That's correct.
So it's
Yeah.
gonna be a lot shorter arm than that.
We figured in the estimate a 50-foot mast arm, and that would go across all lanes. So it's definitely not 50 feet. But again, to be conservative in the estimate, because I don't want to come and go, oh, by the way, it's twice as much. So we figured 16-foot tall pole. We figured it with the fluted post, dual mast arms, which is round and tapered. It's not decorative, and then a decorative base, and it also has a 5-year paint warranty from this company. So they don't powder coat, so they warranty their paint for 5 years. So that's the.
I mean, I think Steve's point is correct. This agreement, you know, puts responsibility on us.
It does.
But, you know, downtown Louisville, U of L, everywhere you go around and see these, double, you know, lights, somebody has put those in, somebody's accepted that responsibility. I won't say somebody couldn't come along and knock one over. We do have insurance, for it though, just like we do, anything else. Somebody can knock, you know, I mean, I'd rather take a chance on someone knocking it over than have to look at a steel pole the rest of my life out there, you know, to be honest about it. It's me. Wayne?
Are any of the wooden poles that are there now going away?
I don't believe so, because those are electric or phone cable or whatever. They're not related to the traffic signal.
And although I would like to see something similar to what you showed here, that we're still going to have a collage of power lines going in a couple of directions in that intersection, and we're going to be adding 2 more poles. Because right now, the cables that hold the lights are attached to the wooden poles that already exist.
That's correct.
And then those 4 wooden poles still exist, but we're going to add 2 more poles.
That's correct.
And then, although I think the ones you showed here were cosmetically good for me, one of the pictures I saw was nothing more than a metal pole, a futuristic type of pole that was just aluminum with a long arc like I would expect to see on Chevyville Road per se.
Did I show that?
No,
Yeah,
I've seen that
yeah.
earlier by
Scratch-
some
scratch
couple
that
weeks
one,
ago.
yeah,
Forget
that one, yeah.
If we're here, and the other thing, if I hear all the conversation right, we're agreeing to go forward at a reasonable price. So I think we need to prepare that a vote of yes, and correct me, because I'm not sure where, and I may very well vote yes, is if we end up spending $30,000 apiece, is that's what it takes to get those poles. I think we're committing to, I'm talking about LaGrange and the county, I'm thinking that our commitment today will be, if that's what the price is, we're committing to go forward with that. Is that correct?
Well, it wouldn't be 30,000 apiece.
I just asked if it
Right.
was.
Well,
30,000 for city, 30,000 for the county, but with the commitment today, logically, it's probably not going to be like that, but I'm saying with a commitment today, we've committed to pay that price.
well, again, Wayne, I'm not sure, only because the non-standard agreement does not include a price. And the estimate I got, and again, this is from the company, just, again, just I need something, is $15,000 for each structure. So 2 structures is 30,000. So that was the estimate. Let me back up to something though. The poles are going, there's only going to be 2, and they're going to be catty corner. One is on the corner where our parking lot is, and the other is on the courthouse property. So it's not on the
AOC corner.
AOC corner, correct. So where that telephone pole is on where Fonda McClellan's office is, I believe that's going to stay because that carries other utilities. It does have the string light, but the string light goes away and now the mast arms go over around the intersection.
My only thing is visually, and I'm trying to get my hands around it, it doesn't clean up the wires in the intersection.
It really doesn't. What it does do
Well, it
is
has to
not,
clean up the wires, some of the wires, because some are running the light out there now.
well, yeah, it doesn't add wires.
Minimal,
Right,
Judge. That's,
right.
and I'm not trying to talk negative. I'm just trying to say visualize what we're doing here if we're talking about it.
Right.
Well, we're going to have, if you don't like, and I'm not putting the words in your mouth, if you don't like 2 poles, you're going to get 4 this other way.
Right.
They're going to put 4
There would be
new
4
poles
steel
out there.
poles, that's right.
Now, when they put up the 4 steel poles, will they take down the 4 wood poles?
No. Again, the wood poles carry electric and telephone, it has nothing to do with the
I
traffic
don't get
signals.
to ask now. I don't get
Yeah.
to ask.
Well, that's all right. We're not, I mean,
Right.
why don't we do, try to make a compromise here, okay? Would you, let's just back up and say, how about you changing your resolution to agree to allow us to sign this? We'll come back with what the money is, and if it's too much, everybody can gag at that point, you know, but we think we're hanging out here what the, you know, what the realistic dollar's gonna be, you know.
I would make a motion then, I would change my motion or amend my motion to say that we would adopt the non-standard materials for armed traffic signal poles at Kentucky 53 and 146 so that we can find out what the eventual cost will be.
Got a second? All right, then, so let's take one bite at a time if we're getting too much going here. But, I mean, unless it's just an outrageous price, which I don't think it'd be, I think we've all appreciated the progress we've made downtown. This is another small step forward to raising our profile in a way that is good for the long haul, if we can make it work. So let's see what happens. Okay. Measure Greenland.
Thank you, Judge. In your email that you sent out about this subject, you asked for input from the Building and Maintenance Committee and from the Road Committee. And I believe the Building and Maintenance Committee voted to table it, and I do know that the Road Committee voted to table it until we had more information, so that we couldn't make a recommendation one way or the other. So we tabled it.
Well,
Like
Building and Maintenance Committee voted to table the discussion until we found out the price. That was the big question mark. So now we're still finding out the price. We haven't approved this, but we're voting to use the non-standard materials at this point.
Right, so that-
I would say that this is still, the price is tabled. In other words, we don't know.
Yes.
We haven't moved forward on that. We're just trying to put our foot in the water and see what the temperature is.
That's the way I see it.
Okay. Everybody agree with that? All right, that's being said, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Passes.
Thank you, Judge.
8-1. Thank you. Next item on the agenda here is the, this is a road committee report, is that right? Are we down to there? No, we're at the next one, KYTC. These are the specified roads and lengths. Melissa, did you want to?
Well, I can do that, Judge. Judge, this is a resolution involving, there are 6 roads here on the list you got there in your paperwork. These 6 roads are in Jefferson County, but they pay Oldham County taxes. And this has been kind of a go-around thing out there in the Willow Creek subdivision. And what this resolution is, since Oldham County pays, their tax money pays for, I mean, they pay Oldham County taxes. We want these roads, since we maintain them, we want them on the list with KYTC so we can get that part of our road tax money. It's kind of been up in the air, so now they wanted a list from us to say, okay, put this on the Oldham County list. And that's what this resolution does. It finally resolves that question. Okay? And I'll make a motion that we pass Resolution 01060617, a resolution certifying the name and length of certain roads within county road system at the request of the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet Department of Highways.
I'll second.
Second.
Moved and seconded, these roads be added to our transportation road list. Is there any discussion? Magistrate Leslie?
Well, I'm one of those guys.
Somebody else.
They pay Oldham County taxes the
Yes,
same
sir.
rate as everybody else in Oldham County?
Yes, sir.
And how long have we been maintaining these roads?
That I don't know. Since 1991.
So we're only, why are they paying Oldham County taxes if they're in Jefferson County?
Well, I don't think we got enough time today to tell that whole story, Magistrate Leslie, but there's always been a situation out in the Willow Creek subdivision, and I don't like the way this sounds, but it's basically They moved to, somewhere along the way, the county line was one place, and then they went back and looked again and said, oops, it's in the wrong place. Well, these people, when they realized, whoever they were, realized that the county line was improperly mapped. Subdivision was built, and people were living there, and they were paying Oldham County taxes, and they were sending their kids to Oldham County schools, and they said, you're not putting this over in Jefferson County. So I guess through some agreement at that time, and I wasn't around here at that time, they said, okay, you all can continue to pay Oldham County taxes. You send your kids to Oldham County schools, blah, blah, blah. But the roads belong to Jefferson County, but since they're paying Oldham County taxes, we're going to let you to continue what you've been doing.
Does this mean that we're going to be responsible for paving these roads in the future?
I think we've paid these roads in the past. Or they've been paying taxes all along. Would that be a fair statement, Ms. Swan? I mean, Melissa, please? And our county engineer is shaking his head positive. Yeah, it's in my district. I went out and confirmed what you all got. There are voters on these streets, okay?
They vote in Oldham County rather than
Yeah,
Jefferson
some of them
County?
do, some of them don't. These ones right along here do. The ones over here don't. I mean, it's a unusual situation, to say the least.
I would say that's an appropriate statement.
I thought Smithfield was messed up.
Where is the county?
Actually, on the one road here, the houses are actually physically in Oldham, but the majority of the property is in Jefferson. So I don't know how the PVAs work all that out, but they have some sort of an agreement. So, but this resolution here is just so we can get the fuel tax money that's due us for maintaining these roads.
Thank you for trying to answer the unanswerable.
A similar,
I do my best.
kind of a similar situation exists over in Prospect, where there are some people who are Oldham County residents, but they have some property in Jefferson County. Who actually controls whom over there is a debate that's over in the circuit court right now somehow. And I guess Mr. Carter, are we a party to that in any way?
No, that suit was filed in Jefferson County by a landowner. We're not a party to that suit.
Well, I've talked to Mayor Fisher about it, and I don't know if his point of view or mine have any merit or bearing in the situation, but we both agreed just to leave it as it has historically been. Leave it alone. But somebody's come along with GPS and questioned something about where that line is, and we don't want the people who think they bought and live in Oldham County should remain in Oldham County.
Well, Judge, just to confuse the issue even further, when I first was elected to court, this conversation and that section, that over there was part of my district at the time. It's part of Magistrate Tice's now. It was my understanding, I'm not speaking for the PVAs at all, but my understanding was that if the house was one place and the property, like the PVA say, okay, we get the house, you get the property. Now, I don't know how it works out which way, but that's kind of like it's an unwritten rule amongst PVAs when they have these split deals like that where the county line runs through the property. So that's my understanding, but I could be totally wrong. I mean, but I imagine this goes on throughout the state.
Measure Greenwell.
This is really kind of strange, but does that mean that because they pay Oldham County taxes that they get to send their kids to Oldham County schools?
Yeah, it's just like a tax bill we get. It's got Oldham County school taxes on it. Yeah. They get the tax bill just like you get with the same.
So they're paying
deducts.
Oldham County school taxes also?
Oh, yeah, they're paying the whole tax bill, not just the fiscal court, the whole bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they are allowed to send their kids to Oldham County schools?
Yeah, well, the thing is, in the beginning, they thought they were everything, their lot, their house, everything was in Oldham. Then somewhere down 5 or 6 years later, they said, no, the line is really over here. They kind of moved the line on. I'm thinking, how do you move a line? Shouldn't there be a curve in it or something? But no one really knows how that, I've asked around and I've not gotten an answer how that happened, but I guess, you know back, how they used to do, the property line ran from the big oak tree down to the pile of rocks over to the creek and the bend and all that. I guess somebody said with GPS or not GPS or something like it, they came in and said, well, really the line is really here, not over there. I don't know.
Well, these people on these 6 streets have been, I guess, taken care of by our road department for years.
they've been everything.
They're paying all the same taxes the rest of us are in Oldham County.
And was the question asked, where do they vote at?
They've,
You know,
yes,
Melissa?
I know some of them. Yeah. These houses, they show up on my voter, well, the ones that are registered show up
Okay.
on the voter rolls.
Okay.
I guess to summarize it, these individual homes, nothing has changed from day one, the time that they built and bought their home, the original owners up to today. Nothing's changed as far as their expectations and obligations to Oldham County, other than the fact when they changed the county line, the segments of the roads became Jefferson County. Okay, and I guess Jefferson County for some time has been getting this money from the road tax until we pass this resolution with KYTC, and now we're going to start getting it. That's really the only change here today. It's just recognizing that those roads are in Jefferson, but we're now going to get the road tax money because we've been taking care of them all along, and now we're going to get some money for doing it, other than our tax money we've been getting. So
All right.
that's all I'm going to say on it. I'm wore out.
Our piece of the pie is going to get bigger.
What?
I said our piece of the pie is going to get bigger.
Yeah, right. So, any other questions? Have I thoroughly confused everyone on the court?
We have a motion to approve and second this. All right, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, great. Now we're down to the salt bid award, Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge, and first let me apologize by saying I did not bring this before the road committee today in the meeting, I just forgot, but we had already, as a court, passed a motion saying that the salt bid would go to one of 2 companies, and Morningstar was the lowest bid, but they are located in Florida, and when Melissa told them they would have to come under the Secretary of State sanctions, there was resistance at that. And they didn't understand why they had to do that and all this stuff. So while there is a discrepancy of $2,568 more if we go with Detroit Salt Company, who we have dealt with before, on 1,200 tons of salt, I believe it's in our best interest to go with a company that we know and can trust for delivery of a very vital substance when we need it. So if the court would like, I'll take it back to road committee. If not, then I'll make a motion that we award the bid to Detroit Salt Company for
Second.
for $81.49 per ton for 1,200 tons.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, Judge. When we originally awarded the bid, we did state that if there was a problem with the company in Florida, that we would go to Detroit. So we have discussed this in fiscal court previously. So I'm in agreement with the motion and the second. And I call for the question.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Next item has to do with some personnel actions here.
Oh, no.
We were going to.
Oops, I'm sorry, we've got Commerce Parkway here. Please.
And I'll try to make this brief and easy to understand. This is more of an informative conversation for all of the magistrates. The Economic Development Committee consists of myself, Steve Greenwell, and Michael Logston. We've been meeting ever since we formed, of course, and over the last several months, we've discussed economic development along Commerce Parkway from the new intersection of 393 up to Parker Drive. In saying that, we've been also having these conversations in conjunction with the city of LaGrange, because what we're getting ready to talk about and proposed is doing an RFP and looking at the road that's in Commerce Parkway that's been there approximately, I'll say 20 years, not quite 20 years, but it's been about 20. We're starting to get development across there. We now have Oldham Reserve, which is tying into there. We think that we need to do several things. Is number one, we need to analyze what property right-of-ways we have and what's in the ground or on the ground. And by in the ground, I'm talking utilities. On the ground, I'm talking about either drainage or the roads that are there. Part two of what we've marked as our task is to do some forecasting to what we think will be needed in the next 10 or 20 years in two different groups of what we see could be the needs of the road and the demands on the roads. And then in task three, come back and say, what recommendations would this firm give us on how we think we need to add 1 lane, 2 lane, turning lanes, and et cetera, and then routing or rerouting utilities that are already in the ground. At this point, we're not talking about any money. Eventually, if it comes down to it, we will be saying, number one, if the court's agreeable with this, City of LaGrange agreeable with this, then we'll go forward and do the RFP. Once we get that back in, we'll have some idea about what our costs will be, and then we'll go forward with putting that proposal out. And then at that point, if all that comes in okay, then we can get the results of the report. So that's kind of where we are. Want everybody to know where we were, rather than all of a sudden show up here one day and say, this is what we've done and we want you to vote on it. So now you have an idea. Do I have any questions that I can answer simply from any of the magistrates? Thank you all. And this is all tied up in, again, the City of LaGrange budget, which hopefully that passes in the next couple of weeks. Thank you all.
All right, Ms. Schaaf, you're next.
Mrs. Schaaf?
Right.
Did you say Mrs. Schaaf? Did you want me to come up here?
Yeah, I said Miss.
Okay, for personnel actions, we have the Aquatic Center. We have some returning head guards, lifeguards that need to be paid $9.43 an hour instead of the $9.25 an hour that we brought them forward as. And that needs to be effective on from May 28th on. And it's for Mackenzie Esterly, Stephanie Lecce, Luke Hampton, and Michaela Olson.
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next.
So, dispatch, we have a promotion from Megan Engel. She's a telecommunicator 2 now. She completed going to the academy and she's finished her year's introductory period. So she will be a telecommunicator 2 at $15.69 an hour effective June 25th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
And the last one is a resignation at the police department of Larry Bo Simpson effective June 16th, 2017.
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We wish Officer Simpson well. His shift is not working out with what his family needs there.
Right.
All right, now we're down to our final public comment, which I believe we don't have anyone to speak to that right now. So let's go through the magistrates and see if we have any other business or anything anybody'd like to discuss. Magistrate Logston.
It's all been said, Judge.
All been said, all right. Magistrate Dye.
Two things, Judge. Number one, people in Crestwood, the road work is progressing, not only with the turn lane there at the DQ, but also with the park renovation there at the Maples. So when you're coming through Crestwood, they have signs up, blinking lights and all that. Be careful because I'm sure that OCPD's around there somewhere. There's a 25-mile-an-hour limit there, so make sure you obey that. And of course, I'm sure everyone remembers 73 years ago today was the invasion of Europe, Normandy. I had 3 uncles were there. 2 of them didn't lose their life during the war, but from from injuries suffered from the war. So I only saw one thing in the paper today about that, and it was Snoopy crawling up on the beach there in Peanuts today. So people have forgotten. So, but I haven't. Right, that's all.
Magistrate Eldridge.
Nothing, sir, thank you.
Magistrate Downs.
Couple things real fast. First off, I attended the Memorial Day services. Several of us did. That was a very nice service that was put together there at the courthouse. Kudos to those folks that put that together. Also, just a thank you. This past weekend was the Crusade for Children in Oldham County. It was very well represented. The citizens gave a lot of change, kind of a lot of change amongst the fire departments, and all that money will go back to the community of Oldham County. Lastly is I've gotten a couple phone calls about people that are speeding on Holly Gibson. It's an easy road, I guess, to exceed the speed limit, but I just ask that people try to slow down and remember that there are children in that area.
Okay, thank you. And was there any indication, I was kind of trying to see but couldn't find how much the total amount collected from Oldham County was?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I believe it was somewhere close to $100,000.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank all the fire departments and everyone who collected for the crusade in Oldham County. Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. Two things to kind of echo what Magistrate Hound said. I thought the Memorial Day celebration was a quality one, just like we've come to expect. It was an excellent, really well done. Second thing, to his point about maybe watching for kids where speeders are and everything, there's a whole lot more kids out there because school's out. So everybody keep your eyes open.
All right, Magistrate Leslie.
Yes. And again, going back to the Memorial Day service, I want to say thank you to all the people that are here on fiscal court. We're quite well represented by the people that are here. Thank you, Judge, for speaking during that service. My next issue is Arts on the Green. I did not personally go to it, but I did notice that there were quite a few individuals who were involved in Arts in the Green, and I hope it was very successful. But I wanted to state two things. Last year, when they had requested Thursday, Friday to set up, the court system had 300 people they had called for the possibility of jury duty for a murder trial. And then when we had passed the Thursday, Friday, they were quite worried, where would all these possible jurors go? Not only did they have that, but they had court services as well as family court. This year, they had approximately 39 family court, and these are most likely divorce cases or custody cases, which can be lengthy, as well as district and circuit court, which there were over 100 cases. And that's why I called this year to find out what would be a suitable time for Arts on the Green so that they would not interfere with the parking spaces for things that were occurring in the courthouse. And I did get a response back through the circuit court clerk that Judge Conrad had requested a time to set up at 1 o'clock. But when I passed through 10:30 on Friday morning, there are several people who had already set up. There was one truck on 53 that was there for 5 hours blocking the traffic. And if we're going to make an agreement with Arts in the Green and the fiscal court decides that that's the time, it should be done. And if they do not wish to do that, then I don't think it's fiscal court that should make the approval, but I think it should be the judge executive who makes that decision in the future. And that's my recommendation. Thank you, that's all.
Magistrate Tice.
One item, the pool's open, happened to go down there Sunday, and it was a big crowd. Talked to one of the ladies in charge. They did not have to add any water over Saturday night. So that tell us all the work that, hopefully, knock on wood, that all the work our maintenance crew did to try to find and fix the leak might be successful. So thanks for their work, and the pool is open.
Measure Likens.
Thank you, Judge. I have a couple of things. Louisville Water Company is working on Highway 42, and they have a lane closure right out in front of River Bluff, the city of River Bluff. And this is part of the relocation of utilities work for the widening of Highway 42 from the county line to Ridgemore Drive, which is finally starting after 6 or 7 years of pushing this project. I did stop by and make sure that they know they're only supposed to close that lane between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. And unfortunately, they tend to let that stretch sometime, and I told them that we already back up for miles because of that traffic congestion there anyway, and to make sure that they were out of the lanes by 3 o'clock. The other item I would like to ask Kevin Eldridge about is, I know we had formed the committee to start looking at drainage issues around the county, and I didn't know where we were with that. I know that we had board members that were appointed, but I'd kind of like an update on if he can tell us where we are with prioritizing the drainage issues, because I get most of my calls I ever get are for drainage issues for people around my district. But can you kind of fill us in on what's happening with that, please?
Stormwater District was formed. They have been meeting monthly. Our new engineer, Scott Harris, has been working with them. In addition, the Utilities Committee has met with him on one occasion in regard to forming the exact thing you're speaking of. There are limited monies to go around. Scott has formed a list of what he believes to be the first 3 to be worked on. He is now working on engineering and costs for that. We will be working on locations where there's more bang for the buck. Where there are locations where the county is going to have to go in and force people to give up right away, those will not be on the top of the list. In the areas where there's flooding and people are willing to give up the right of way for the good of themselves and their neighbors, those will be moving to the top. And Mr. Harris does have 3 in mind, and he is working on this currently. I'll try to keep you in the loop.
Okay, who should we turn in drainage matters to be looked at? Scott Harris?
Turn that into Mr. Harris. That's
Thank
correct.
you very much.
Mr. Carter, do you have anything you'd like to add today?
Nothing, Judge.
All right. Got a couple things here. We mentioned Arts on the Green was another successful Saturday and Sunday here in LaGrange. I'm very proud of our maintenance department and a very nice job of getting everything cleaned up to look as good as it possibly could for our out-of-town visitors and for our local community who came out for Arts on the Green. Saturday morning at the Oldham County History Center, a new building, ribbon cutting took place for a new building called a Pioneer Educational Building, I believe it's called. And this building, $250,000 building, designed by Gant Jones, this building is being donated by Ken and Nancy Dahlgren. So certainly want to thank them very much for their contribution to the community. The building will be built behind the church. There used to be some type of barn that sat there many years ago, prior to our, current memories, by sure. But it'll be a nice building and addition, and we thank Ken and Nancy. It's just amazing how many times some wonderful individual will be struck by an idea and step forward and do something great for the community. So we thank them and their family members. Westport Fire is out down at the Schambach Park at the river selling things on the weekend. If you go down there is food available, courtesy of Westport Fire. Finally, I'd like to announce, I announced to our staff this morning, I'm going to do it now here publicly at the fiscal court meeting and on television, that Deputy Judge John Black is going to be retiring at the end of this month, end of June. John has certainly been an extremely valuable person to us here at fiscal court during my term for the last 6.5 years, and of course as a county judge for 9 years himself back in the 90s, and he was also mayor of LaGrange for 9 years and the city councilman there before that. So John has reached the point where he'd like a little more free time and to do what he'd like to do, rather than be tied down to day-to-day responsibilities. He's still going to help us on a number of levels, and his contacts in the state and at Frankfurt and other places here in the community, so he won't be totally disappearing, but will just be, basically doing other things during the day besides reporting here. So, John, I thank you.
Is he gonna have a party?
He doesn't want a party. He just wants to go out the door. And so we're going to honor his request. All right, yeah, he'll be here for 2 more. He's here till, well, he's really, his time has run out. I mean, he's got 22 days of vacation, so he might be here on his own vacation time right now. I don't know. I guess you are, but
Thank you, John.
thanks for
Judge,
everything
I'd like
you've
to say
done.
something.
Wish you the best of luck.
Judge, I'd like to say something.
Okay.
John, I've known you for many, many years. I think going back to almost approximately 1990. You've always been a gentleman. I appreciate everything that you've done. You've been helpful to me in what I've done. You've been very helpful to the entire community. And I don't think the entire community really realize how much you gave to this county. I don't think they realize what you gave to the city when you were there. But you have given so much to the city and the county. It's hard to say just how much you've done because you've done so much and you've worn so many hats. I appreciate what you've done. I would consider you a friend for life. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bob. Very nice words. I don't think there's any doubt that John Black has served and been dedicated to the success and prosperity of Oldham County. If that is your motion to adjourn? All in favor, please say aye.
You got that? I do. Am I doing it? I'll do these.